Hello? Hello?
No. You guys hear us, Marissa, Bree?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, we're calling the meeting to order at 10:05 a.m. Thank you for being there. It looks like we have Rachel, Marissa, Bree, Sam. Um, James, do you want to identify yourself?
Yes, I am a student from Big Sandy, Montana, and I'm here just to listen in on the meeting.
Great. Thank you for being with us, James.
Yep.
Okay. Tim is not here.
I'm gonna call him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Director Brett, go ahead.
Randy,
Yes, here.
Mike Shavers,
Here.
Bree Schulman,
Here.
Christy Hendricks, here, George Reelbird,
15 minutes.
Honorable Mary Jane Nicely, is David Tolian, Landon Woods, Leila Giberson, Lila,
Class.
Marissa,
Good
Bostic.
morning here.
Rachel Wandershot,
Sure.
here, Sam Bachta, and Tina Eblin.
Okay, thank you. First action item is approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Mhm.
If someone would care to make a motion, if there's no changes, or do they have any changes?
Mhm.
If not, would someone care to make a motion to accept the minutes? Christy moves. Is there a second? Second. Mike seconds. Marissa, were you going to second, or do you have a comment?
No, I was going to second. So that's
Okay, Mike beat you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Roundtable. We always start inside here. Maybe we'll start online this time. First of all, Sam, welcome to the board. And I'm going to let you go last only so that you get a chance to see what we're all doing. But this is an opportunity for people to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they're doing. We can do that now, right? What you do in your neck of the woods. Oh, it looks like Megan's just joined us too. Hi, Megan.
Hello,
So we're going to go
everyone.
ahead and do round table, and we'll start with you, Bree, if you don't mind. Tell us who you are and give us a little sense of what's going on in your world.
Sure. Hello. Hi, my name's Bree Schulman, and I am a licensed professional counselor based out of Missoula. I've been on the Youth Justice Council for a few years now, and my involvement has mostly been around looking at mental health interventions and alternatives to juvenile justice programs. Um, my main focus has been in doing like outdoor behavioral health care kind of stuff. And yeah, I have some exciting news to share about that since that's where my heart is. Right now, I do private practice in Missoula, but I did just get contacted by someone who wants to fund a youth program. This is not going to be a licensed therapeutic program because we don't have the resources for that, but we are hoping to team up with and planning to team up with the restorative with CryJ of Missoula. And so it's a program based on a few nonprofits teaming up, and it would start with kids building bicycles and then doing a lot of executive functioning development through that, and then doing a bike packing trip on those bicycles. And in that, working on assertive communication, leadership, and understanding their role in community impact and self-advocacy and all that kind of stuff. And then afterwards, they would come back and do some sort of community leadership, kind of like a final project based on passions that they've gained while being outdoors, whether it's about anything from frogs to social justice to environmental justice or anything like that. Um, and this program would be funded over 3 to 5 years with kind of a step down of how much funding each time. So, yeah, I'm excited to get back into youth programming, and I would like to see it over time target specifically more so-called at-risk youth, although I think that's most of our kids and teens these days. Um, yeah, that's what I've got. Thanks all.
Thank you, Bree.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you very much. Megan, are you ready to go?
Sure, I could go. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Megan Wright at the door. I serve as the director for the National Native Children's Trauma Center here at the University of Montana. I'm joining you from Missoula right now. And we provide training and technical assistance around the nation, but also in Montana. We have been working on, we actually have a webinar coming up on Friday. It's our third in a series of webinars that we've been doing with the Montana Healthcare Foundation. And this one is on empathy-based stress and self-care. And if anyone would like to register, I'd be happy to share the information. I do know through our work with the Tribal Law and Policy Institute, we will be, there'll be a webinar coming up next week, next Thursday, on a Tribal Healing to Wellness Court trauma-informed self-assessment that we had provided input on, and we'll be rolling that out to people, tribes that are interested who have a juvenile healing to wellness court. And I do know there's some exciting things happening in the state. I know that Rocky Boy's opening up a new youth center. They have their grand opening at the end of the month. I think it's March 27th, I want to say. They've invited a lot of people to celebrate the opening of that youth center, which is exciting. And I know next month we'll be in Fort Peck doing a lateral kindness training for programs, and then one for the community. And then I can't think of anything else we might be doing here in Montana, but yeah, just those are a few things I can think of. Nice to see
Perfect.
everyone.
Thank you, Megan.
Hey, Megan, could you put that link in the chat, please?
Sure.
Okay, Marissa, welcome to the board full time. I know you've been hanging out with us last couple meetings, but welcome full time. Are you ready to go?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to officially be here, so thank you for being patient with me. Marissa Bostwick, Office of Public Instruction. Title III, which is English language learners. I'm getting an echo, sorry. The intent to apply for funds has been sent out to school districts. So that would apply to school districts with Title III eligible American Indian students. And so if you would like more information about that, let me know. Under Title I-D funding for neglected and delinquent, we will have our community of practice in Great Falls, April 27th through the 29th. And it's going to be a great time to network with other staff and educators that work in secure facilities and with neglected and delinquent students. We're going to be touring a lot of facilities while we're up there. I'm going to put the agenda into the chat. We will pay for one staff member's lodging and mileage to come to the community of practice. But it's just a really great opportunity to learn from other people in the field and to see some of the facilities. And Great Falls Public Schools is doing amazing things with neglected and delinquent and at-risk students. So we'll be seeing a lot of what they're doing also. So I will put the agenda in the chat. And if you're interested in registering, just let me know. So I'll do that right now.
I don't believe, Chair, I don't believe participants have access to the chat. So we can arrange for them to send it to Jeremy.
Get that out later. Okay, thank you.
Jeremy, you have the agenda, right?
I do.
Okay, perfect.
So I was
Thanks,
just
everyone.
informed by the, thank you, Marissa. And I was just informed by the director that maybe not all of you have access to some of the things that we're saying we're posting. So Jeremy will make sure that, you know, like your thing, Marissa, and I think Bree, we're going to post something that
Send them to me.
send them to Jeremy and then he will get them out to all of us. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, Marissa.
everyone.
Rachel, are you ready?
Yep, I am happy to go next. My name is Rachel Wonderscheid. I'm the director of the Montana After School Alliance. We're a statewide organization, and we do intermediary work with all of our youth programs across the state, really those that are serving 5 and older though. But those look like Boys and Girls Clubs or summer camps or like the new program Breeze starting. Programs that are based in schools, programs that are more, you know, based at science museums or libraries. And our hope is that these programs can exist in our current landscape of funding and policies more easily. And so we're trying to do things kind of in the advocacy space with Department of Health and Human Services or OPI or the governor's office and the legislature to try to get more funding sources because these are usually left out of the traditional ones. And also kind of to make sure that the rules and policies that apply to them really allow them to actually operate successfully. And we just generally know that the more kids have access to these opportunities and places to go after school and during summer when their parents are still working, the better their outcomes are. And and we also do professional development for the programs. And so like we'll have a regional conference in Great Falls, seems to be the place right now, on April 16th and 17th to provide training for these providers in that area. And so again, there'll be OPI credit, childcare credit, and great trainers, including Tina, who will be there. Yeah, so we do kind of a combination of professional development and advocacy and just kind of awareness building for these programs across our state. My personal background is in juvenile justice. I'm an attorney and I did a lot of youth court in Helena and then for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes. And I just wanted to find more opportunities to create new pathways for kids instead of having them kind of only have the option of our system. And if our system does have to be the last resort, the best options possible. So that's kind of what brought me to this space and to this council. I also have a background in restorative justice and mediation. And so I'm always looking for other ways of doing things that give us, you know, the opportunity to re-enter our communities in a healthier way. So I love this group. I think there's lots of really great people who've been really good connections on it. And I'm excited to have new people joining us and get to know you all as well. So thanks for having me by Zoom because I'm over in Polson. I don't think I said that, so it's nice to not have to drive all the
We
time.
can see the lake behind you. It looks nice. You're outside on a dock, huh?
It's just beautiful summer evening here.
Well, thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Sam, again, I'm going to wait on you just to give you, not to put you back, but just to give you more idea what's happening. We'll start with the folks in the room here. I think we have gone through everyone online. So, Christy, do you want to tell us about who you are?
Absolutely. I'm Christy Hendricks. I used to be at OPI in Marissa's role. I am the foster care programs manager at Reach Higher Montana. And I am still connected with the high tiered COP and work with Marissa on that as well. And just a few updates through Reach Higher Montana. Our foster care summit is going to be June 16th through the 18th, and it's going to be in Dillon at Western. I can't do University of Montana Western. Can't do it. That application opened March 1st and closes May 1st, and it's for high school juniors and seniors that are in the foster care system, and they get to experience college life. They'll be in the dorms. They will be sitting in on some college classes, and the unique spot with being in Dillon is that the Montana Youth Challenge and the National Guard are going to be working with the kids. So they'll be working with the cadets, because graduation is June 20th there for the Youth Challenge, and so it's going to be a perfect fit for the kids to be able to see some drills with them. We're really going to be focusing on life skills for these kids. We've heard from a lot of the Chafee providers and their caseworkers that the kids save up money to buy a car, but they have no idea how to take care of this car. And so we're going to be doing a lot of vehicle maintenance, changing their oil, changing their tires, checking the battery, checking their fluids, windshield wipers, all of that stuff that they really need to focus on and learn how to do. And we're also going to talk about housing a lot, because they don't know how to, they know how to get, like, maybe get an apartment or rent it, but they don't know how to get the utilities changed into their name. They don't know how to become a good renter, maybe figuring out who to be their reference. So a lot of life skills and figuring out what they want to do with their lives, because college may not be for everybody, but they do need to be successful members of society, and how we can help them with that is any way we can. And it's free to all the kids. The Chafee providers drive them. So Mike in Billings, it'll be Tumbleweed. So it'll be Tony and Shelby with a couple vans bringing kids. So it'll be really cool. And Dillon Elementary or Dillon School Districts is going to do the bus.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I talked to the superintendent at the high school, and they said, well, first he didn't know where Bannock was. He said, oh yeah, it's right in town. And I'm like, no, it's not. But
It's new this year.
he's new. He said, oh, it's not that far. We'll pay for it. So the Dillon School District is going to pay for buses to bus the kids to Bannock and get to tour it. Because if you're going to be in Dillon, you have to go to Bannock. It's just one of those requirements.
And it would be Beaverhead County High School, because they run the buses. So yeah,
Right.
glad that got worked out.
It did. It got
I
worked
did
out.
talk to him and told him you're gonna.
Yeah,
Did
it
you
worked.
talk to Josh directly?
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
And then he put me in touch with whoever
Sean.
does. Yeah, Sean, who does the transportation.
Perfect.
And then a couple other things. Any foster care kiddos that's wanting to go to college, the 26-27 ETV application opened March 1st, and then it'll close next February, because we have some kids that start in the fall, some kids start in the spring, some kids start in between. And if they're going to SKC, they have quarters, so we have it open all year. The Design a Sticker Scholarship, which is really, really cool. I love this scholarship. It is for any grade 9 through 12, which is the best part. It's not just seniors. That opened March 1st and closes March 30th. So it's all those Reach Higher Montana stickers that you see floating around, and the kids have all designed those. And there will be 9 scholarships awarded. And then the top 2 winners, the art department of the school district receives $250. So, and it doesn't matter what platform the kids use. Some of them do pencil drawing, some of them do programs online or on the computer. It doesn't matter whatever platform they want to use. We do get a lot of questions about AI. They can use AI if they are using it to generate the ideas. They can't use AI to create the whole thing, and we can usually tell we'll run it through the AI trackers. But if they need to use AI for getting some kind of cool ideas to get started, absolutely they can. We let them use that as a tool, but not do the whole thing. And the last thing we are working on is we are working with PAL at in Helena for senior projects. And if there's anyone in the Helena area that would like, they're doing mentor opportunities for the high school seniors. So the high school seniors are going through what kind of career they want to be interested in. And if there's anyone in that field, they need 15 hours. So I'm kind of doing a little plug if anyone is interested in helping the PAL kids out for whatever that would look like. If you just send me what your skill sets are and we can match them with a kiddo if you're interested. And that is all I got.
Perfect. Thanks, Christy. Tina.
Hi, Tina Hayes. I am the Associate Director at the Montana Safe School Center and a school board member for the Missoula County Public Schools. At the Montana Safe School Center, we are working really closely with the Education Interim Committee to do a school safety survey. And this originally came about because we had approached some legislators about an anonymous tip line that would be statewide. And they broadened it to be like, well, where are we at with school safety? So we are now conducting a survey. We've had 225 schools participate, over 150 districts. So we're hoping to at least get to 300 out of the 944 schools in the state. So, but very interesting information and trying to get a lot of states provide school safety funding in the terms of grants through a safe school center, but Montana does not. The only way you can achieve getting safety money is through a levy. And I don't know about you guys, but in most of our communities, levies are not passing. So that's exciting stuff that we're working on with the legislature. And over the last year, our center has trained over 10,000 people. So that was quite an accomplishment. So we do everything from understanding brain development to understanding threat assessments and bullying, suicide prevention, child exploitation, which I know that there's been a big focus on child trafficking, but you start with the exploitation first. So we really try to be preventative. We're also doing lots of conferences like Rachel talked about. We'll be up there. We'll be at the Montana School Counselor Conference. We'll be at the Jeremy Bullock Conference. We're doing the Peace Officers Conference as well, because I don't know if you saw in the news, Uvalde's sheriff was on trial. So we're really trying to get police departments to work with schools. And as I'm all over the state, including VITA, Montana, we're finding that law enforcement isn't as present in schools as schools would like. So really trying hard to do that. And then just doing like 4 to 5 site assessments at schools every month. So pretty incredible for an office of 2 people. So that's all we have.
Thank you, Tina.
Do you have the dates for the Jeremy Bullock Conference?
Yeah.
4th and 5th, 4th, 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th?
4th and 5th.
4th and 5th.
April.
August.
August.
Sorry, Tina.
Oh, no worries.
We're presenting them too, so.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Tina. Mike.
Mike Chambers, the Yellowstone Boys and Girls Ranch. There's a lot going on. We just broke ground this last week on a new group home in Boulder. So looking to continue to expand those services. We've created a couple of partnerships in Eastern Montana with Head Start in Glendive and Miles City to help provide some services to those kids there. Been working with CFS to expand an evidence-based program that's only in Missoula right now, working with kids with sexual behavior problems and their families in a holistic healing model. It's out of University of Oklahoma, so we're trying to bring that and expand it across the state. We've got well, in Billings, we Family Support Network was a program that was there working with kids that had been removed from homes, put them on and assumed their operations in July of last year, and stabilize those services. So we're doing family reunification, parent training, supervised visits. We're up to about 50 kids that we're supporting in the Billings area through those programs, through that through Family Support Network. Working with Aware. Aware and YBGR have always done a annual conference. Randy's been at ours before, and we're talking about doing that together rather than apart this next year, to kind of share resources and continue to grow that. So September, October is our target date. We're still in the early stages, but Matt Beauty both like the idea to work together. We've been working with the Gallatin Mental Health Coalition to bring services back to Gallatin Valley. They lost most of their youth services during COVID. That has resulted in identification of a piece of property there, a former therapeutic boarding school that's been empty. And the partners there in Gallatin have purchased that property and have paid it off, and they'll be this month gifting that to YBGR to try to start some expand community-based services first and work towards a residential campus. So it's a 30-acre parcel with a gym and some dorms and other things on it. So continue to work on that. Try to look ahead and be prepared for the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And really that's just been strengthening our back office. I don't know if you can, if I send you to a site, could you share it? If you look that up. I'm gonna have Kayla share this. This is a dashboard, a client dashboard that we've created for YBGR clients. It allows us to see where we're serving kids across the state by county and in what program, and what kids are waiting for services in those specific counties. So we can start trying to match staff and locations more effectively. So you can scroll down to the map there, see it shows every county in Montana. We actually have a few kids from out of state, so some other counties will show up. But if you hit on any one of those counties, it would tell you how many kids we're working with and in what programs, demographics about the counties, and who's waiting for services in those counties. So you can see their targeted case management in Cascade, 88 kids in targeted case management, 83 in outpatient therapy, 49 home support. Some of the important ones there. So we've got 7 kids that are awaiting a therapeutic youth mentor. There would be other programs. So we can start matching staff and kid services. Just scroll back up to the top of the screen, you can see program view. Hit on that. As of on the 27th, we had 2,000 kids in service. Those are unique individual kids. The staff services are medical services we provide to our staff. That's those 12 people. So, where they are, and we can look at where we're serving them, and then back up to the top again. there's one more that says bed capacity. So we can look at utilization and where we have open beds and more quickly assign kids so that they're not waiting out there. So it goes by program location. So this has been a great tool for us to start using and it's public. So our partners at the state and others can look at it, and because it says the bed's open, we could have filled it yesterday, or we could have somebody else that's scheduled to come in. So it doesn't allow them to say like, hey, we have a bed there, we have a kid to put in it. But it does allow us to get better and to really look and see where we need services and where we can build and need to grow capacity.
So, Mike, the waiting list, is that on the bed capacity side, or how do you know?
We don't really keep a waiting list on our group home and PRTF. We look at capacity there, like where do we have beds? But the reality is most of those services are really crisis driven. And you put a kid on a waiting list, they need to be in one of those yesterday, not 2 weeks from now. Right. So whenever a bed comes open, we go to an active list, say who's waiting because they'll go out and find other services. The waiting list is really our other community-based services programs, targeted case management, home support, therapeutic youth mentoring, kids in the community that have said they want and they qualify for those services and those staff.
How long is your wait list? Like on average, how long do kids have to wait?
Oh, that would really vary by county, and I don't have that data yet. So that's something we could look at and begin to try to pull out of here of how long a kid.
Vary by county and vary by the needs, right?
Yeah,
I mean, sexual.
And we've got part of this is like, so we've got a kid up in Jordan, right?
Yeah.
How do we get staff to them, right? Yeah, that waiting list might be much longer than, or the wait time might be much longer than a kid in Billings. So, but it really allows us to start using this data in an effective way. So, and it actually it scrapes our electronic medical records, so it's not really hand entered. Hit a button a couple of times a week and it'll refresh all the data. So it really is and built using Claude AI as a programmer. So pretty cheaply actually. So yeah, that's what we're working on. Staffing is still our biggest challenge. We've seen some improvements in that in pockets, but anybody we hire, we tend to fill the caseload. We have been working on partnerships to grow our own staff. The last couple of years, we've had a partnership with Grand Canyon University with a tuition discount for our employees who are seeking bachelor's or master's degrees. That partnership just expanded for any of our staff that need a bachelor's degree or seeking a bachelor's degree. They're offering them a 32% tuition discount. And they're already our cheapest option for education. So online programs. So hopefully we can continue to grow our own.
That's amazing.
There's a lot going on.
All of us all the time. Yes. So, yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, Sam, do you have an idea? Welcome aboard. This is your opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what's going on in your world.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat Mike's. That's pretty impressive.
Well, it's good to see you, Sam. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're part of this group, man.
Well, thank you. It's good to be a part of it, and thank you, Jeremy, for talking to me about this last year. I'm glad to be a part of it. Just to introduce myself, my name's Sam Bofto. I am the Director of Youth Services Center, Ted Lechner Youth Services Center here in Yellowstone County. For those of you who don't know about us, we are a regional detention facility, a juvenile detention facility, 24 beds on one side and a 15-bed shelter care operation on the other side. So we employ 34 people here from, we do our own education program. I've got a LCSW on staff who's also the assistant director. On the shelter care side, we take referrals from DFS, Child Protective Services, Juvenile Court Services, and a MOU recently with Tumbleweed for crisis placement for kids that need a little bit of a break from a group home situation, crisis care bed for a kid that has no place to go, or other situations that pop up. And what we do is we provide a stable home for them for temporary, and do a little bit of CD counseling here, and then get them pointed in the right direction. We don't. We don't do the counseling here, but we allow DFS and CPS and juvenile probation to do their thing. On the other side, we are a pretrial detention facility. We handle the Eastern Montana region. It is a 24-bed facility, so both my staff do double duty. And right now, I can tell you we are at 13 on the detention side and 7 on the shelter care side. Our numbers have come down dramatically from 2025. And, in talking to some of our people we work with at Pine Hills and whatnot, we're finding that a lot of our problem kids are in Pine Hills, and they've filled us up. We were at capacity through 2024 and through about mid 2025, and really running over capacity on shelter or on the detention side. And they about Christmas time we dropped off, and we really haven't increased to the capacity point. But right now, 13, it's good to have a little bit of break. We've had some really rough kids, so we've done some huge improvements to the facility, security-wise and programming-wise. I invite you all, if you're ever in the neighborhood, come knock on our door and come see us. I found this was a hidden gem that really nobody knew much about us, and I really want to open the door and show us off and show my staff off, because I'm quite proud of the work that we do here. A little bit about me. I spent 28 years with a little over 30 years with the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office. I started out as a reserve deputy and went on the street for 5 years, promoted to detective, worked fires, a lot of juvenile crime, just general detective stuff, homicides. I was a coroner for a long time. Then I was dumb enough to get promoted, and through that I ran the Yellowstone County Detention Facility for 5 years before I was promoted to undersheriff. And after 28 years, I decided I had enough and I needed to start spending some time with my beautiful wife and my kids. My kids are all grown, and I decided to retire, and then the director position over here opened up, and I thought it would be a perfect fit with my detention background. But I tell you what, I have learned more working here about myself and working with kids, and really it's been an eye-opening experience for me to work with kids on the detention side, especially because they have lots of questions. What jail is like, and what they never had a cop that they could talk to, and so we open up those lines of communications, and really we're having some good breakouts. So I'm having a good time. But I truly invite anybody there. If you're in Billings, call me. I'd love to show you around, show you what we do. Like I said, we're one of the 3 regional detention centers in the state. We handle everything from Eastern Montana. If you kind of take a little scoop up from the Bozeman area through eastern Montana. That's what we handle here. And surprisingly enough, the majority of it comes from Billings. How would people know? But we take a lot of the kids here. Things are good though.
Well, thank you, Sam, and welcome aboard. And yeah, we're glad to have you. So
glad to have you. You guys are doing amazing things at Ted Lechner. Tell Hank hi for us.
Will do. He's one of my guys I like to show off a lot. My teacher, he does some great work.
He does. And his heart is huge for all these kids.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm blessed to have the staff that I do have here.
okay, I'll get mine real quick, and then I would like for Criselda and Director Bragg and Juvenile Justice Specialist Shields to introduce themselves, because I don't know, sounds like some of you already know Sam, but maybe it'd be nice for them to put a name with a face if you haven't actually. I'm sure there's been a lot of communication over email and stuff like that, but I don't know if you know them. Anyways, I told you about our young 7-year-old who lost their life in our crosswalk. We're still kind of dealing with some of that. Our kids from Lima. Some of you know the situation with the deceased child in the house for over a month, and those students are in our building. Bacterial meningitis kid in one of our kindergarten rooms. We had a young gal, second grader, whose mom was terminally ill, and she was handed over to a relative, and in 1 week mom was dead, so we're dealing with that right now. A lot of sickness in school, as you guys probably know. Influenza B is pretty rampant. Interestingly enough, people are always, are you shutting down school? Are you shutting down school? No, we're not shutting down school unless we get to a certain threshold, which is around 30%. And we have been up around 20% of our students. But what would shut us down quicker is our staff. When our staff, a couple of years ago during COVID, we had 3 of our 5 kindergarten teachers sick, as well as a number of students. And kindergarten standards are a little bit different with ours. So we did shut kindergarten down for a week. We've never had to do that anywhere else. But my point is this year our adults have been fairly healthy. So that's kind of interesting, but we've had a lot of kids out, and I think we're on the downside of that, but obviously dealing with that. I'm embarrassed to say that we had marijuana in our school, 8th grade student, for the first time in my 22 years that I'm aware of. Clarify that. We did have a student in our alternative classroom that had marijuana, and I had to deal with that the other day. I'm also proud to say, though, that in regards to technology, we've not allowed cell phones in our school for my 22 years. And now suddenly everybody's finally getting on board with that, including the whole nation of Australia and things like that. And there are so many dangers with technology. And we feel like we have a decent handle on it. Some of it, of course, is out of our control because all of us are sitting here with our cell phones. But we continue to address that and try to have a good balance between the technology that our kids are allowed to use in school. We are presenting at Jeremy Bullock because of a lot of our issues. One of the things that Kate, who big part of Jeremy Bullock, 2 years ago when we were at Jeremy Bullock, while we were there, it came out with the situation where I don't want to say any names in here, but the situation out of Bozeman where somebody had murdered a young girl 20 years ago, and that person was killed himself in Dillon, but his wife is one of our teachers. And that call came in, even though I kind of had a little bit of heads up, while our crisis team was at the Jeremy Bullock conference. And so we had to deal with that right in front of Kate, which was quite interesting, not in front of her, but she was a part of that. And so she wants us to come and present. And so we'll present on some of the crazy issues we've had with kids, and how we've dealt with those from a trauma-informed way, hopefully making things, as good for kids as we can. hopefully making it, helping them get through it. And along with that, and our Hope Squad is also, we have quite a robust Hope Squad in our middle school, and they're also they've been asked to present. So we're proud of that. We're proud of them. And then on another line, just because we have OPI folks on board and we have OPI X people here, I want to once again mention, and this has a lot to do with kids, even though it seems like it doesn't, the mass testing and how crazy this is for our kids. And a lot of you are adults with kids in school, and OPI has to do something because it is really hurting our kids. We have really bright kids. We're above the state every year in every testing. And it's saying that we're 19% proficient right now. This mass testing, please, if you haven't heard about it, investigate it for your kids, for your schools, and for just schools in general. But we have talked to the Department of Public Ed. We've talked to lots of different folks, and something needs to change with that. I hope Marissa's still on. Anyways, lots going on, but I'll end it with that. Lots of trauma that our kids are going through, and we're trying to help them as best we can. We have a great staff who's highly trained and hopefully helping to reduce some of that trauma for them. So yeah, Griselda, would you mind just telling people online who you are so they know what you do and who you are?
Good morning, Griselda Dela Cruz, and I'm a program supervisor here at the Board of Crime Control, and I've been here a little over 5 years, just kind of helping YJC and supporting Jeremy with everything that he does.
Thanks, Griselda, and thanks for all you do. Jeremy, Juvenile Justice Specialist, would you mind making sure they know who you are?
I'm Jeremy Shields, and I'm Juvenile Justice Specialist. So kind of what I do is whatever it is that you guys tell me to do.
You do a lot more than that. And Director Bragg?
Yeah, Kayla Bragg, the Executive Director for the Board of Crime Control. And I've been here, I started September or the very last week of August. So I'm still saying I'm new, but learning a lot. And we have a lot going on. We're busy. A few things that I'd like to share. We currently are hiring in House Bill 117. Last session, we received a project manager and a data warehouse architect position for our Justice Data Warehouse project. And so that's closely watched by the Criminal Justice Oversight Council and the Law and Justice Interim Committee. We give a Justice Data Warehouse update tomorrow to the Law and Justice, and then we'll be in front of CJOC on the 11th. But that project is a really collaborative project with DOA and law enforcement agencies across the state, the court administrator's office, the public defender's office, corrections. And so as we continue to work with agencies and stakeholders to get their data within the Justice Data Warehouse, we need more people to do the work. And so currently hiring a project manager and an architect to build that out. We also are hiring a budget analyst too, and a grant accountant as well. But other things that we have going on is state planning. Early when I started this position, I talked to Griselda, and Griselda mentioned state planning. We can do better. And so we've really been with Griselda's leadership, working on state planning, developing some written processes that we'd like to do and try out. And that means from engaging with the public at large, kind of casting that wide net, to having focus groups and really targeting folks in our stakeholders and subject matter experts in our community. And what state planning is it allows many of the federal grants that we have require us to have state plans that essentially say, how are you using this money? What are your priorities? And so we want to work with the board. We want to have a robust state planning process. That way we can work with the board and the YJC to identify how we want to spend these monies, and make sure that it's a great assessment of our state's needs and the services that are really needed. So we're working on that process. It's a slow go. but I think we're really excited about it, the progress we've made. Criselda and her team have had at least 7 state planning meetings already for the victim services programs that we offer. And over how many people?
150.
Yeah, at least 150 people already involved. And so we can't be successful with state planning without the public and our stakeholders and subject matter experts. So we're really looking forward to continuing developing that process. A couple other things. I'm looking at assessing our committees between the board and the YJC. We have close to 16 committees. So just looking at the resources that we have, and we really want to be able to run committees well and be there to support the people, the people doing the work, the volunteers, you guys and the board. And so trying to look at how we can create some efficiencies and be more effective within our committee work with being realistic with the amount of people that we have in office to support those committees. So I'm starting to do that, and we'll work with the chairs a little bit more to understand where we would like to go with that. I am continuing on with our board member one-on-one meetings. I'm almost done meeting with all the board members and having a one-on-one conversation, and then we'll look forward to meeting with the council members to have the conversation. And I don't think I've shared it before, but before our quarterly board meeting next week, we have one on the 12th. The staff, they do most of the work, but we put together a quarterly board report. And I don't know if you guys have reviewed those or not in the past, so I'd be happy to share the quarterly board report that the board members get, and it breaks down what's going on in each section within the office. And one thing that I'm excited for, it's something new that we're trying out, but it's a strategic goals and objectives log. And it essentially takes our strategic goals that the board sets for us, and staff in each section plug in activities that are relevant to those goals and objectives. And it can be a sub-grantee activity. So it could be something, services that a sub-grantee is doing, or it could be something that we do. And we report those out to the board quarterly. So I'll be happy to share that with the council as well. We have so far close to 60, so 58 activities reported on our annual goals and objectives that the board set. So I'm happy with that progress, and trying to get some measurables for us to see how we're doing on meeting our goals. Let's see. And really the last big thing I'll share is that the spring 2026 program highlight was Blacktail Health, the Butte Child Evaluation Center. So they were voted as our spring highlight for NBCC.
Perfect. Thank you. And yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that. I think we'd love to see it, and just, if you just emailed it out, people could look at it at their leisure or not. So I think that'd be great.
Hey, can I add one more thing?
Yes, Sam.
I'm sorry. I talked to Judge Nisley last night, and she sends her apologies. She is stuck in a jury trial that she could not attend today, but she wanted me to make sure that I told you guys that why she was missing today.
Thank you, Sam. She had sent a message, so we kind of knew that. Sometimes she has one of her law clerks sit in, and she's kind of back and forth, but that didn't work today. But yeah, thank you for letting us know that. So we love having her as well.
I went to high school with her, so we go way back.
Okay, overview of Youth Justice Advisory Council. I'm going to give a quick overview, and it's going to be probably not as good as Jeremy or Kayla could do. So please, Kayla or Jeremy, jump in. But we do have some new members on, and I think it's good to kind of revisit really what we're all about. I've been on this committee, I think, since 2013, maybe 11. I can't remember. I know I looked at something the other day when I was trying to re-up, as a lot of us were, and some of us had trouble. I was having some trouble. Mm-hmm. And I know one of my letters was dated 2013. So I've been on for a long time, but I've only been the chair for, I don't know, a year, a couple years,
It's gotta be more than a year.
3 years, whatever it's been. And I still learn a lot. And I think Rachel said it earlier really well, articulated really well. It's a great group of people with a lot of different backgrounds and interests and expertise. And it's, you know, we all come together, you know, trying to help our kids. So that's awesome. But I'll give you a quick overview. Jeremy, please jump in. Kayla, please jump in at any time. We do exist. This committee exists because of the governor's executive order. Did everyone just have to re-up, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we all kind of got a sense of that as we applied. But that executive order allows this YJC to exist, and it's under the Montana Board of Crime Control, which Director Bragg is the head of. I hope I'm saying that right. And then it all comes down, you know, it's all required by the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act, or a lot of times we use a lot of acronyms, the JJDPA. Our purpose is really kind of four things. If you look at the act itself, we submit to the governor and to the Board of Crime Control any legislative recommendations that we might have regarding state compliance with the federal requirements due to the act. We participate, like we're doing now, in the development and review of the Juvenile Justice Plan before we submit it to the Board of Crime Control for their approval. That board isn't, we're anywhere, and I'll get to this in a minute, we're anywhere from 15 to 33 members per the act. I don't think we have, what do we have now, 13, 12, 13? And by the way, Kayla, if you want to mention in a minute who we're still looking at, I don't know if you want to mention Misty and things like that, or any recruiting efforts, but we're probably a little under that. I know we're definitely under on youth, and we always, for how many years I've been on it, we have struggled to get youth. Partially, I don't think it's for lack of effort. I think it's because of their schedules and things like that. Like today, Lila is in, actually, you know where Lila is today? I just thought of this. She's in Washington, D.C. With our county commissioner. So she's actually doing business on behalf of youth in Washington, D.C. as a junior in high school, which is why she's not on today. Anyways, that 18 member Montana Board of Crime Control, MBCC, is kind of who we report out to. The third thing we do is review and prevention grant applications, a lot with Title II funding. Jeremy could probably explain that better. We recommend that Title II funding to the Board of Crime Control. And then not the last thing we do, but the other big thing we do, and again, this is an area we probably could do better in if anybody has ideas, is we seek input from youth, especially youth or their parents who have been in the system and have, or people like Sam who are working with youth in the system, which is why people like Sam or Judge Nicely are so important to have on this committee. Of course, one of the big things that we're, I don't know if we're responsible for, but we head up is do the right thing, which kind of falls under seeking input from kids that have experienced some of those traumas in their life. And the board makeup is outlined in the executive order. It is supposed to be 15 to 33 members appointed by the governor, which we all were, and we serve at the pleasure of the governor. And then we do represent various groups. And this is the thing that I'm so impressed with, is the variety of groups that we do represent. And that's the beauty of the roundtable, is we get a chance to talk about, you know, how we impact or how we influence or how we have relations, you know, with the different youth groups and things like that. And just a variety of experiences, from after school programs to working with kids in detention, to working with kids in schools. Tina, I don't think she mentioned this. She's also a board trustee in Missoula, for Missoula County Public Schools. Did you mention that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. So just a variety of different ways that we work with youth. We have a 2-year term, and we meet quarterly. and Kayla kind of alluded to this. We do have 15, I think it's 15 committees, and those committees, some of them are more effective, Christie's, they're more robust than others. And some don't meet as often, Mike, like your legislative committee, because, when the legislature's not meeting, then we're not as active. And when the legislature meets, it's more active. But Director Bragg has some ideas on maybe being more effective with some of those committees. So we'll look at that. And we got to meet all the members today, but Kayla, do you want to mention, or Jeremy, any recruits out there or anything you want us to do in regards to more members, or where are we at?
I can say that, so Misty Doney, she applied and we're waiting from the governor's office to hear from her about her application. But Misty is, she's with Fort Belknap. She's with the tribal health department there, and she is the Empowering Inner Strength Victims Assistant Manager over there. And she was, I talked to her a couple of times and really excited about the opportunity. And so she submitted her application. We'll just wait to hear back, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear something. Jimmy?
Really have anything. The one piece that's already come up is that we are short youth members, and figuring out a way to reach out, because that was the exception as opposed to the rule. And at any point that people have ideas, we're more than happy to facilitate that. But right now, as we sit, we're at least 2 youth members down.
What is the age requirement for the youth?
It's actually up to like
26, I think,
Yeah.
under the age of
As soon as you're 26, you're done.
Okay.
And either and supposed to be at one point justice involved. The caveat to that is that also we could also have a parent that comes in of a child that is youth involved.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you guys have ideas on that, reach out to Jeremy, and he can make contact and see if they'd be a good fit. Megan, you in your line of work, you work with a lot of those, they're not kids, but young adults that would maybe fit that. So maybe you have some ideas, and certainly some of you others. I don't know, Sam, if it would work for your kids. Those would obviously qualify, but I don't know how that would work. I don't know if that's a possibility, but those would be the kids we'd want to hear from, probably.
They just aren't there very long.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is it's a 2-year piece.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we have any I mean, I know that there's like the 2-year appointment, but is there a way to do sort of like a special section at our meeting where we specifically have a couple kids who are, prepped from one program for just that purpose and that one time, so that it's just, do we have any flexibility with that, with our youth voice piece?
No, we can definitely have them come in and speak, but that doesn't fulfill the requirements.
And we've talked about that before, Rachel, and I think even that has been difficult to just, to get the youth involved. We've had a couple college students, we've had a couple high school students, but just the nature of their schedules and
the timing of this meeting,
and the timing and the coming and going has just been really difficult. I think Lila is the exception to the rule, because she's extremely conscientious and involved and interested and passionate. And even she has a very difficult time, being involved in our meetings like this. So yeah, if anybody has any ideas, and Mike, you also would obviously have youth that might, fit that bill, but it's just difficult. So Kayla or Jeremy, anything I missed with an overview that you want to add?
I think you did a good job.
No, but thank you, thank you, Rainey. I would share, this is Kayla, I would share that Griselda and Jeremy and I have chatted about some options, maybe on recruitment. maybe at the next meeting or something like that, we could have some ideas or brainstorm started for the group and then go from there. And then maybe bring in the requirement of what our options are, what actually the title requirement has of us. And then we could present that to the council and just have more of a conversation about it. We can put it on the agenda as a specific agenda item if
Perfect.
you'd like.
Yeah,
Can we
that'd
do
be great.
stipends for them?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
because money talks.
I think they qualify for the $100 attendance for the meetings.
Okay,
And then if there's any travel, but that's
Okay.
about it.
I'm wondering. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Bree. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I'm wondering too if the intention of the requirement was to hear from youth voices, but the way the requirement is currently written is kind of prohibitive from meeting that goal, then do we have the right people, and maybe especially with Kayla and Jeremy in this meeting today? Is there room to adjust the policy and the requirements through the Montana Board of Crime Control to make it more appropriate or accessible?
It's a federal requirement,
Yeah, it's based off the
LJJDP Act.
JJDP
Yep.
Act. And so it's federal, and no, there is, and this is not a new discussion, Kayla, just so you know, this has been a discussion for years. But no, it's a great idea, Bree, it's a great idea, Rachel, everybody has great ideas, but unfortunately, the act requires them to be here, and the reality is it's difficult to accomplish that. How young can they be?
I don't know what the bottom end is, but I want to say it's 16, but I'm not
See,
positive.
that's what I thought, and I could guarantee you we could get a
16 or
14-year-old because I could swing some things at school, but I don't know if you can go that low.
Well, I wonder what other states are doing.
I'm
And if
sure they're having these same discussions. I have no
Yeah.
doubt.
I think it'd
Yeah.
be great to put it on the next meeting for a bigger conversation. I have a couple ideas as well, and then I know I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I don't know why he's here. But at some point, maybe if we reached out to James after the meeting and asked him why he was here, what brought him here, if there was any interest there, we might get some feedback from an actual youth who could help us navigate this.
Yeah, good point. James, do you want to chime in? You don't have to.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, as a youth myself who is interested in the Do the Right Thing program, I'd totally be of help. Ask questions. I'm here to answer.
How old are you, James?
I am 13, currently in the 8th grade.
And what town do you live in?
I live in Big Sandy, Montana.
Okay. Again, you heard us just talk about the age. We sure appreciate you being here. And Rachel, I think that's a great point. If somebody has some interest and he's a youth, I don't know, and I won't ask you on this. I probably shouldn't have asked your age, but I won't ask you if you've been in trouble. But why don't you reach out to Jeremy? Does he have does he have your email? Would he have your email?
We can get it through him.
So why don't you reach out to Jeremy Shields here, James, and have a conversation with him if you're interested.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that works perfectly.
And how, again, you don't have to answer this. How are you in school? How'd you get out of school to be on this meeting?
So I actually talked to my principal, Mrs. Woolery, and she said that I could 100% do this meeting, and it would be a excused absence, and she considered it school related. So I'm currently actually in my counselor's office and doing this meeting. I got all my classes excused for this.
That is awesome. And if you need help with that recommendation with your principal, let me know. I'll be happy to share that you were here and participating and involved and interested. So thank you, James. And Rachel, good point. So James, do you know how to reach out to Jeremy? Can you know, or?
I actually do not.
Okay, we will put, can we put Jeremy's email in, or does he not see it?
So James, reach back out to Kim. We went through in the first place, and we'll get you my email address.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, for sake of time and the fact that we're going to put this on the next agenda, I really welcome any of your ideas, but I will tell you, we've been through this 100 times. We've even talked about Judge Nicely sentencing kids to have to participate, and it just, for whatever reason, just doesn't work. But Kayla, we're happy to hear yours and Chriselda's and Jeremy's idea and see if somehow we can figure it out. And a guy like James might be a great fit. So we'll move on if everyone's good with moving on. Public comment on any matters within the council's jurisdiction. So up to this point, and James, this is an opportunity for you to comment. Should have waited. Anybody have any comments, public comment? Okay, we will move on to after school program. This is an action item. Jeremy, thank you for sending that information out. I think hopefully everybody had a chance to read. I think it gave us an opportunity to get kind of a head start. You've got some hints down here on the bottom for us too, but I'll turn it over to you. Funding options for after school.
So the after school funding, we've been talking about it for a while. We plan on putting it into effect as of July 1st. There are a couple things that we need to talk about some decisions that need to be made. The first option is take that $300,000 and put it in under Title II and blend it into the portfolio. What comes down to that is then with all of that funding has to fall within our 3-year plan. And with that being said, then we'll be looking to probably have to revise our 3-year plan. If we go that way, then any way that we decide would have to fall under the OJDP approval, which means it has to fall under the same Title II rules. Then we run into the full federal compliance with RED. It comes down to we're looking at, like I said, just basically adding it into Title II. Would potentially slow up our implementation timeline as the fact that we still don't have Title II that hasn't hit us yet. So we're still sitting on that. The one piece is that it does give us kind of a strong alignment with the federal juvenile justice strategy. The second option we would do as a standalone state program similar to our regional juvenile detention monies, and that, for instance, Sam gets money from us for that. It's much more flexible. Although we would still look at using some of the Title II purpose areas for it. But it gives much more flexibility. Key characteristics, obviously it's state funded, so state administered, don't have to worry about the 3-year plan, no federal restrictions or reporting requirements that we would use under OJDP. There would still be some separate requirements, and they're very similar, but it definitely would loosen up what had to be met, so to speak. Makes it more highly accessible for rural, tribal, and small nonprofits. The one thing we run into, we know under Title II, that there's a pretty significant amount of paperwork burden that's assigned to Title II, which is why we really struggle with getting the tribes on board to do this. This would make it so that we could more strongly align with the legislative intent for local after-school support. Again, lowers that burden. It's really best for quick deployment, some flexibility, and community assessment. If you look at the side-by-side, if we go under the integration, 3-year plan revision would be required. Not required if we go as a standalone. Federal compliance, obviously, if we go with Title II is higher. There's none associated with the standalone. As we are sitting and waiting on Title II, we don't know when that's going to show up or what that's going to look like. So that would slow down the funding on this potentially. If we go the other way, we're looking at being able to fund it as of July 1st. High flexibility, lower with Title II integration, makes it more difficult for our rural tribes. If we go Title II, And really, we're probably looking at a stronger alignment with what the actual bill was set up to do. If we do it the standalone, as opposed to if we do it under Title II. And so it's an action item that we have to decide what direction we actually want to go with this funding, whether we want to wrap it into Title II or if we want to do a standalone. And the one thing that I would say is, as Rachel was highly involved in getting this going, can you tell us what the legislative intent was? Would we be more in line if we go standalone, or would we be more in line if we go in Title II? And like I said, as somebody that was instrumental in driving this policy, it would probably be really good to hear from you prior to us making any decisions.
Yeah, thanks for that. So this was an add along to the Board of Crime Control's budget of $300,000, and things move very quickly in that specific part of budgeting. And so it was put in, it was taken out, it was put in, it was taken out. But really, like, and we could go back and look at the minutes from it, but the comments were youth prevention, after school, and adding to the budget and the program that was already established so that we don't have to start a new department in another office. There's already staff in this office who could administer it, and some policies and procedures in place that would not require the creation of a totally new office to administer something. I think that the main intents are prevention through after school in community settings. I don't believe that there would be any problem with just doing it as a standalone especially if the federal government funding is still kind of tied up. I think that they will want to see the funding used, and they will want to see how it was used. And so if there's any chance of getting it again, that is important to be able to show, like, we used your money well. And so I think that probably doing the July, program start date and getting it out to programs in early fall, and then being able to report back to the legislature that it was used well is, I think, a priority. It would be nice if it could add to that already, that chunk of money that you already have, but since it's been kind of held up, I think it's more important that we go forward with the program and not say, oh, here's your money back, because that will definitely not get us any more options in the future. Is there any other questions you specifically want me to answer, Jeremy?
No, that pretty much sums it up. The one piece is, we look at these two options, as you restated, the potential to get this rolled out July 1st is very, very important, I think, because we want to be able to get this money spent, show that it was spent in a worthwhile way, so that when it rolls around the next time, they just go, we're not even going to talk about it. We're just going to move forward with this money each time. The kind of the issue that we also run into is that, especially when you're looking at some of the after school programs, if you're looking at tribal, you're looking at rural, the more regulations that we put on this, the less likely people are going to be willing to ask for it.
Is there a plan of who is getting the funds and how they're going to apply?
We have to talk about that.
Okay.
And it's in here.
Okay.
As we continue, there's some things that we have to decide as to what this is going to look like. Okay. I think when we start off with under this action item, I think we have to decide which way we want to go, and that will help lead us as to what happens next.
We build it.
Because if you flip over to the next page, as we're going through, there's things that we're going to decide. We're going to talk about age groups. We're going to talk about The purpose areas, we're gonna talk about, as we go through, the scope of the project, what the funding structure is gonna look like, maximize the amount of money that each one can get. And so I think, like I said, we can get to that in a minute as we go through. I think we come back over here and we take a look and go, hey, which direction we're gonna go? And then we can flip it over and we can build what it's gonna look like.
Director Brett.
Chair, this is Kayla Bragg. If the council members have, I think about this as a state grant, like our domestic violence intervention and our crisis intervention training grant. So if you have questions about what a state grant looks like for us, getting it out, our policy procedure, we're happy. Between three of us, we can answer questions, because essentially that's
Right.
what it is, right? A state grant from us.
And this essentially, as a state grant, we already do that with our regional juvenile detention. So this is stuff that we already have in place. So the idea of, if we go Title II, or if we go under the standalone, we already do a standalone, and we would do it very similar to something that you guys are already work on, or a piece that comes out.
They're ready for whatever. They just want the council's opinion on what it is. Rachel, you're suggesting standalone then, is if I heard that right? I want to make sure I did.
Yeah, I don't believe that the way it was put forward for the committee required that it be a part of the other grant. I think it assumed that it would be a part of kind of your current grant processes, so that you didn't have to make something up. And I just, from what you guys are saying and the kind of other factors that would delay the funding, if we go the first route, I think I'm swayed to go with the second route, as you guys seem to be more in favor of.
Okay, thank
I
you.
move to do option 2.
Okay, it's been moved to do option 2. Is there a second? Tina seconds. Further discussion. So I have a question for Kayla and for Jeremy. What is your recommendation?
I see this, the standalone, I believe, is probably the better option based on two things. We know that the speed is something we want to be able to get this money spent.
People apply for it, they think they're getting it and they don't get it.
Right.
They can't move forward.
My other reasoning is that we already sit in a spot where we want to look at potentially with tribal, we want to look at some of these smaller organizations. This is a cleaner process for them, and there's less requirements of them. And I think that they'll be more willing to apply. And the idea is to get us in a spot where we're doing good things with this money. Mm-hmm. And I think probably the quicker that we're able to roll that out, the better.
Kayla, do you have a recommendation, or do you want us to out of it?
Chair, this is Kayla Bragg. I think for option 2, some consideration for the council is the Title II 25 money is still unknown. So the federal government hasn't released those opportunities yet. So that's certainly a factor. When I had a conversation with the Legislative Fiscal Services staff, they said it's pretty flexible as to what the council can do with the monies. So I think it leaves it pretty open as to after school programming, right? And whatever that means for the council. And then knowing that it does start, we can use the money starting July 1. Those are the 3 things I'm thinking about in a decision for option 2. And just knowing that if the council votes to move forward with option 2, then we do need to make sure we're spending time to have the conversation about the opportunity. So the eligibility and all the other things that Jeremy talked about. And so just making sure we're going to give time to that to set us up. That way we can, at the next board meeting, March 12th, have the board they'll vote on your option and also the opportunity that you guys develop. And then that will move forward for us to make preparations to release it to the public for application.
Perfect. I appreciate Rachel, Jeremy, and Kayla's input. Any other further discussion, Tina?
I just had a quick question. How late is the Title II funding?
Hasn't been released
At this point, we usually know where we're sitting, and this is what they can tell us. We don't know.
Okay, so you're in the same boat as everyone else.
Same word as everybody else.
Any other discussion? There's a motion on the table from Mike, seconded by Christie. No, by Tina, to go with option 2. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of going with the standalone, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jeremy, for all that explanation work on that. Rachel, thanks for your work sort of behind the scenes or whatever on that, because I know that's your baby, and maybe this will be an opportunity where, yeah, the funds could be put to a good use. But Jeremy, we got a little more work then to do, right?
Yeah, so if we roll over the next page, we're looking at basically our options within this opportunity. So we're actually going to build it while we sit here,
Okay.
more or less. So if you roll over, I'm just going to read this top piece to you. The Montana Board of Crime Control is soliciting proposals to implement evidence-based after-school programs that support youth safety, academics, engagement, mentoring, and positive youth development across Montana. It says approximately, but it is 300,000 in state funding that will be available during a 1-year, 12-month project period. So we would go from July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. Depending on the legislative allocations, we already have that in play. Additional state fundings may become available for future projects. Applicants may request a shorter project period if appropriate for the program design. If all funds are not awarded during the release, MBCC issues an additional after-school program funding opportunity within that same 12-month period. So if someone goes, hey, we only want to do this for 6 months and go through, then we can go through and put out a separate. We don't want to. We'd like for them to use the money for the whole year. That would be great. Eligibility is open to nonprofit organizations that serve children under age 18 and school districts. Okay. Eligible applicants. So we're looking at local governments, tribal governments, school districts, nonprofit organizations, or community-based youth service providers.
What about private schools? Do they fit into one of these categories?
They're a school district, are they not? Private schools, a school district of their own? I'm gonna ask the bit.
I think they're a district under the school districts. Private school is a. Go ahead.
Point of order. Chair, this is Kayla Bragg. I just would recommend maybe a strategy as we work through these. We can do it however the council would like, but it would be nice to maybe get this board or council discussion on each section as we move along.
Point by point.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the program description and make sure that we're encompassing what the council want as a program description.
Okay.
Maybe even if we all agree it's what we have, but I think if we could do that section by section as we
Okay.
work through.
So program description, I think it looks great. Is there any other discussion on that, or are people comfortable with how that's worded?
I would
Tina?
just like to add the actual dates in there.
Mm-hmm.
July
12
1st.
month period. I agree.
I read that.
And they would have to be for us to be able to put.
Okay. Perfect.
So Jeremy, if you'd add the dates, anything else on that program description? Everybody comfortable with how that reads?
The only, and I go back and forth on this, but there may be, with that description, there may be early childcare programs that apply for it because it just says under 18. We might be okay with that. But they do usually have access to other federal funding sources.
So,
In the actual
see
discussion of the budget, I think it says just under the age of 18, right?
so when we get further down on this sheet,
Yeah,
Okay.
there's an age range.
there's an age range. And so this is one of those spots where we have to, so council must finalize. Do we add or want to remove any of the listed eligible applicants? And then age ranges right now. So we're looking 5 to 18, K-12, elementary school, middle school, high school.
Do we need the age range up in the program description somewhere? Because right now it just says youth.
You guys, this is your thing. You tell me.
So I think if the age range is gonna be there somewhere, whether it's up in that or whether it's down here, I think we are gonna define the age range. But the question, because we're on program description, is do we put it in there? That's
Right.
the question, right? And I think you certainly could put the age. I mean, it's gotta go somewhere. Let's let's add the dates to the program description and add the age, what are we defining that as? 5 to 18? And maybe it better be 5 to 19 if it's school districts, because
Could be 21 if they have IEPs.
And with the new, sorry, this is Marissa, but with the new settlement that just went through, I think we need to be careful because it could go, FAPE could go to the 22nd birthday. So I think we just need to.
So how about we just stand at school age children as defined by the state of Montana?
perfect. And then add the dates in there to the program description. Director Bragg?
This is Kayla Bragg. My concern about that is what being defined by the state of Montana could mean something different to me, to you, to any of these programs out there. I think for a grant application, I think we need to look at maybe some specifics.
So
Otherwise,
I would say 5 to 22.
otherwise we could get,
Okay.
a slew of different applicants.
So 5 to 22, because that would
That
encompass,
covers.
yeah.
Chair, there is a comment on Marissa. I think you raised your hand.
Yeah, Marissa,
Not
go
to
ahead.
keep hammering this away, but I think we need to be careful with the 5 to 22 also. I think it really needs to say exactly what the law says. I mean, is it through is it to the 22nd birthday? It's just a hot topic right now with those ages.
It is.
And
Okay, how about just school age children?
But then are we opening that up because we service,
You serve
3
3 to 22.
right?
Yeah, it's school age children, 3 to 22. And 3 and 4 would only be if they were, if they had a preschool program, which some do, some don't.
Yeah, because otherwise you could get 22-year-olds applying that aren't under the.
But if you say school districts, then it's the district.
and it says right up here, there is no individuals.
Yeah,
That's right in the eligible applicant structure. So we're not gonna get a 22-year-old that's gonna come in and want money. They may apply, but they would be set aside right away.
Right.
But a nonprofit could apply and provide the service to a
Mhm.
21-year-old. Doesn't fit the qualifications of a school-age child. Doesn't include that.
Yep.
well, now I'm questioning myself, because you look at tribal governments, local governments, could this be for a 2-year-old?
Right.
Because school districts make sense to me that it's from here to here, but if you say local government, tribal government, is there an age range on
And
that?
Blackfoot early head start.
Mhm.
Right.
So does the
For
age
instance,
matter? Because a school district's only gonna have an age from here to here, whereas a local government or a tribal government or a nonprofit, their range can be much
I think we take it out
greater.
because otherwise, you're right, it's not gonna fit.
However, after school program implies that they're in school. Or, they're school age. So then back to what is the age?
As your Head Start and early Head Starts are rolling in underneath the school districts, that's a
Yeah.
school age child.
And do we care? Because what we're trying to do is provide opportunities for youth. So does it really matter?
I think we,
Specific,
the
or we
reason
could be
it
in the worst
matters-
days.
Yeah.
just one reason I think it's going to matter is that 300,000 will go very, very quickly. Most programs operate at a budget of more than 300,000, just one program. And so we are going to have, I think, a lot of interest. And so we just want, as the reviewers and as your guys' organization, kind of ways that you can prioritize programs. So to some extent, if we could put those priorities in other parts of it, we might not have to focus so much on the age. But if we do know that it's supposed to be prevention, school aged, not in the school day, so that means either after school or summer, then if we can put those priorities in other parts of the application, then we might not have to focus as much on the age. But we are like, I kind of anticipate us having a lot of applicants. And then we wanting to have ways to kind of say like, you need it more than others. And so we just want to try to be able to give ourselves those parameters.
So Rachel, you're the after school guru. What is the program description that's listed? If we add dates to it, do we need to add it? We're just talking that right now. Is that good? And can we move on to the next and figure just what you set out in a minute?
Yes, traditionally school aged is most often discussed as 5 to 18, but I'm also not sure I agree with that definition because sometimes you've got 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds in programs, and sometimes you have 19, 20, 21, 22 for different reasons. And I don't think we should, if the program is a good program doing good work with kids, I don't want that to totally be the reason that limits us. So,
but the way it reads now, there is no other than school age, there's nothing in there. So if they're in a 2-year-old preschool, that could be considered.
And we run the risk of getting a lot of 2-year-old preschools to apply for this that we have to weed out in a different way if we don't.
And like you said, we could weed that out, as we kind of keep going down the list here. We just need to agree on program description to be able to move on.
I've got a question about
Great.
I think the need that we are prioritizing meeting is, and I'm sorry if I'm missing that right here, but are there specific needs that justified or kind of created this grant opportunity to begin with? And if so, can that give us a little bit more direction?
Yes, there's no state funding that goes towards after school at all in Montana other than now this little bit. There are a lot of different federal programs that do work as pass-through money that gets to the state of Montana that serves mostly the early child care space. They just opened it up with some quirks to that to licensed after-school programs can now access that federal funding. That's not actually happening yet because of some other wrinkles, but again, that's federal money, not state money. And then there's one federal grant, the 21st Century Learning Communities Programs that's administered by the Office of Public Instruction that it's a 3-year grant cycle that some after-school programs are able to apply for. But the amount of funding that is requested for that versus the amount that they are able to give out, there's a huge gap. And this 300,000 won't even kind of touch that gap. But I do think not programs that are already funded elsewhere is sort of the biggest gap and need. We also see that just in terms of after school programs out there, the vast majority of them are in the elementary school ages. And while that is critical and they don't have enough money, we have far fewer that do middle and high school. And the one aspect to this grant or this funding was it is kind of through the Board of Crime Control and is supposed to be a little bit more focused on real prevention and keeping kids safe. So I do think that if we are later on in our eligibility finding ways to kind of give that focus a little bit more, or slightly older kids, there's definitely a need for that. Definitely a need in more of our rural and tribal communities. They're far more limited on programs that are available for kids and families. And it's hard to say that programs should be prioritized over others when nobody in the state is getting enough funding in this space. However, there is more funding in the early childcare space, preschool space, and even in the school district space for the actual running of schools. Again, not enough for any of us, but more than in this space of these community programs trying to give kids a place after the school day or during breaks and summer.
So I do want to say, I think we need to be careful getting in the weeds because we're going to run out of a lot of time here. This is a great thing. It's the first of its kind, I think. And I think we can age this to death or whatever. And I appreciate your comments, Rachel. You are the guru on it. And I appreciate Bree's questions. But I think for sake of time, I'm going to ask another time. Are we okay with the program description? I think we all know what an after-school program is. I think we know that that's generally same school age. I do believe Jeremy, Criselda, Kayla, whoever, can come up with some sort of a rubric once we get through this, to your point, Rachel, to prioritize who it is we are trying to hit. And you just said something really important, that school districts get more and that early childhood. So if we want to gear this towards middle school and high school, I think there's a way that Jeremy could come up with some kind of rubric when we do the scoring to accomplish that. But I think if we don't get through this, at least give Jeremy an outline that he can work with, then I think we're going to be talking about this all day. So we have two more big things coming up. So Kayla.
This is Kayla Bragg. Chair, I would recommend then, if we're good with the program description, it would that first sentence there, proposals to implement evidence-based after-school programs that support youth safety, academic engagement, mentoring, and positive youth development across Montana. The eligibility, if we're okay with that, we look at eligibility. Eligibility is open to eligible applicants that implement evidence-based after-school programs that support youth safety, academic engagement, mentoring, and positive youth development. And then we're at the point of, we don't have an age in there, but you can look at the eligible applicants. So how do we, I guess, if we're good with that, then let's look at the eligible applicants. Do we want to take off or add? And then that gets us to continuing to narrow the scope in purpose areas and scope of project.
You articulated it way better than I could. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think the program description is really good. I think adding the dates is good. I get the discussion on the age. I mean, that's a tough one but yeah, if we're good with the program description per what Kayla just said, then I think we're going to get, Rachel, to yours and Bree's kind of bigger concerns and be able to focus it more. Jeremy, is that, because you probably wrote this, right? And this is good. We just need to now fine tune it, which is our charge. So
I think
please speak up. But
as we're rolling through some of these questions, will get answered if you allow us to work through this stuff, and it will get to where we want to go. And we're getting stuck in semantics at this point right now. Whereas if we work through this and we can go, yep, we want this, we agree with this, I'll highlight it and I'll write it in.
And if we do get stuck, or if we do work through it and Rachel or Bree or anyone for that matter, there's something that wasn't addressed, then we can go back, then I think we can work backwards a little bit to make sure that got in there. because I do think we may come back and go, oh, that really should be in the program description. So the way the program description is written now, if the dates were added in there, which is what, July 1st to June 30th, if the dates were added in there, at least for this moment, we don't have to vote on it right now, but is that pretty good? And can we move forward to talk about eligibility?
Yes.
Everybody good with that? Okay. So eligibility, Jeremy.
So under eligibility, right now, it currently states we have local governments, tribal governments, school districts, nonprofit organizations, and community-based youth service providers. Are we all right with that?
No.
Who do you want to add?
Well, because if we want to include private schools as well, Montana Code Annotated says the school district is defined as a public administrative unit. So it does not include private schools.
They're on the list.
So is everybody good with putting the private schools on the list?
Yes. I do have one quick question. That first bullet under eligibility, and you have serve children under 18.
Yeah, Chair Kayla Bragg, I would say here, we would just amend that to say eligibility is open to eligible applicants that implement, and we use the same sentence as the program description.
Perfect.
And then now I think the discussion needs to be adding or removing the applicants.
Thank you.
Rachel, what were you thinking with the private schools? You good with that?
You know, as long as they're doing a program for kids after school or during the summer, I think that some of them out there could really give us some good applications. The other point I just wanted to give is there is some interesting worth in actually having a big applicant pool, because then we can say we had this many programs apply and we were only able to give this many, and that shows the need. So I think that sounds good. And I think with the current political landscape, leaving out private schools might be problematic.
Okay, good point. So everybody's good with private schools, and I think Kayla did articulate, incorporating that. Okay, so anybody else that should be under eligible applicants? Okay, can we all agree then adding private schools to that, and then we can move on from there?
Yes.
Okay, council must finalize. So we're back to the age thing. What did we decide? Just school age?
That's just internal.
Okay. All right, purpose areas, Jeremy.
So under the purpose areas, we went and pulled up under Title II. So we use Title II purpose areas because it is supposed to focus on delinquency prevention. We're looking at positive youth and youth development, school programs, and mental health falls underneath that, which when you're looking at your mentoring, counseling, and training programs. So delinquency prevention, we're looking at at-risk youth before they enter the justice system. Activities can include community-based interventions, mentoring, family support services, early identification of risk factors, and cross-system collaborations among schools, courts, law enforcement, mental health, and child welfare agencies. These programs aim to reduce youth crime, status offenses, and subsequent justice system involvement. So that's what we're looking for in delinquency prevention. The positive youth development programs under positive youth development encourage the growth of skills, resilience, and social engagement. Initiatives often include after-school activities, mentoring, tutoring, job readiness, leadership development, and structured recreational activities. Under the third area, school programs, activities, let's see. So support school-based initiatives designed to prevent truancy, promote attendance, and provide educational enrichment. And then lastly, the mental health services are key purpose areas, including treatment for mental health disorders, substance use interventions, and counseling for at-risk or justice-involved youth. So those are the 4 areas under Title II that seem to work with this after-school piece.
Any thoughts on that? And by the way, real quick, if I can say, Bree, thank you. I just read your email. Thank you. Let us know if you got to go. It sounds like she'll be fine now, but do we have a form for action items? And can we, if we had to lose Bree, would we still have a quorum?
You've got 8.
I'm good. We have her covered, so I'm good. But thank
Okay.
you.
Well, and it's still good. You reminded me that we probably should look at that, as we do have 2 action items this afternoon. Is everyone good for carrying on here? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
So at this point, we're looking at approving of the purpose areas above. Are you guys all right with those purpose areas?
Yes.
I just have one possible thought. I'm not sure it's not included in these, but cultural programs to encourage tribes who are really specifically working with kids to make sure that they're engaged with their families and communities might be one to put in there as well.
I have one thought too, and that's just, would current juvenile justice programs be eligible? So, for example, if there was maybe a program to bring to the youth detention center in Missoula or something like that. That might be a totally different pool because after school is, I think, typically not kids who are incarcerated. But I'm just curious if there's room for that or if we should just hold that off completely for now.
Jeremy or anybody thoughts on that?
Rachel's thinking.
My thoughts on this is it's really up to you guys.
I mean, so for example, there's been a lot of talk about bringing in some sort of like bringing in dogs to youth and even doing like programs that might have to do with empathy building or something like that, or training, or like reading to dogs, which could also be something where a kid gets school credit at the same time. And I don't know, like, and Sam, you might be a good person to think about too. If does this seem applicable to your kind of programming? Would you want it to be? Or I know I do a thing where I open up cans of worms by asking questions.
Yes,
So
you do.
feel free to shelve them, but
I know at the Cascade County Juvenile Detention, they do have a dog that I think one of the teachers brings in. I mean, I can't have a dog based upon the I'm dual license, one by DOC, one by DPHHS, and the way the setup is, I could keep the dog over at detention and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, reaching out to Cheryl Ziegler, the commander over there in Missoula, might be a good spot on that. I don't know if she's interested in doing that or not. But well, I've often thought about doing, I mean, they just rave about that dog up in Cascade County, and it's kind of a cool thing. I'm just not set up for it.
I think dogs being one example, but also slam poetry writing courses or anything that might be just a program that would be supplemental. And Rachel, I want to defer to you too. If you feel like that's maybe a misuse of what we're going for with after school programming, maybe that could be saved more for juvenile detention. Or Randy, you got an idea?
Yeah, I just don't think that kind of funding is appropriate for our detention facility. I mean, we've got funding to our activities, our recreation, stuff like that. I think the money could be better used elsewhere.
And my thought on that is it's like I want all the money for all the kids. And I do think that there is more funding in that space for like those facilities to access. But I think that maybe if it was a nonprofit that was doing this in the jails, but also in the after school programs and in other spaces, they could probably apply. I don't think this limits them from applying, but I don't think we want to open up to the detention center themselves, because it would just, again, get eaten up and not go to any of the other programs.
Got it. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Bree, for bringing that up. So purpose areas, what did we say about adding?
We added cultural.
Cultural aware, or cultural, okay. So with adding the cultural, are we good with those purpose areas now? There'd be 5 of them.
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on from there. Approved purpose areas, and are there any priority areas? Are there any priority areas? I guess.
There's a question there that whether they have to align with just one of those or multiple of those.
Well, I guess that will be part of the rubric or part of the, because I think, Rachel, you're right. I think it's great to get a lot of applicants because that shows the need. But I also, being on the other end of it at times, or being on the other end of applications, you definitely want something to be able to pare it down. And I think, again, Jeremy can come up with something that gives us some focus based on all of our discussion here when we review those. But
Chair, this is
Yes.
Mila. So on scope of project, right now, what we have written is programs must provide structured supervised after-school services for school-age youth. So I would just open up that for discussion, and then that would include currently the things we have. So if there's anything we want to change there or discuss about.
well, when we say school age up here, right? Or I'm still where we have school age. We say school age up in the description, correct?
No, we took it out.
After school program. Okay. So then scope of the project. Scope of the project to include our lead broad. Comments about scope of the project.
Chair, this is Marissa Bostwick.
Yes, Marissa.
Will there be guidance to follow? And I'm sure there is, but structured can be so broad. And I know this is probably it, but will there be guidance to follow of what this structured after school program looks like and what the scope of instruction and evidence-based programs are going to be included within
I think this is fit to be written so that it was broad and open as opposed to us going
Being narrow.
This is what you can do. I think the idea is that we're going to get funding for you to provide some type of a structured program to kids for after school, as opposed to saying exactly what that means. Because again, we're going to get deep in the weeds if we go down and go, you have to do this, you got to do this, and someone's going to go, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this, and does this meet this, and what's this? And I don't know that was the intent of this funding in the first place. It was the intent that we got some type of after-school structured programming to help communities, to help kids.
And to your point earlier, Jeremy, it is dangerous, but the more, as one who deals with grants a lot in school and stuff, the more boundaries that are put on it, it's not even worth applying.
Right.
It's just not worth it. If the more hoops you have to jump through, it literally becomes so overwhelming, and we're so understaffed with doing that. You guys know from the OPI standpoint, it just isn't worth it. So I like it being a little more broad.
Because what it comes down to, guys, is we can go through and we build the rubrics out and say, this is really kind of what we're looking for. And when it comes down to it, the other thing that I would suggest, and we'll talk about in a minute, is that we don't put $300,000 out and go, well, we have 43 applicants and we're going to split that up. My suggestion is it's a good enough chunk of money that makes it worthwhile even doing. Whether that's 5, 6, 10.
Will there be at some point guidance and criteria that these after school programs have to follow to show compliance with taking the money?
They're going to have to put something in to be able to receive because I think they're going to set it up by either monthly or quarterly. that shows that they're actually doing what they say they're doing.
Director Bragg, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, Chair, this is Taylor Bragg. You know, typically in our applications, we have a few we call them strategies. So there's strategies that are listed, and then the applicants or the successful applicants, they will develop goals based off the strategies that are set. So the agency sets the strategies, the subgrantee sets the goals, and then they report on those goals in whatever reporting period they're in. So Marissa, to answer your question, as long as we'll have strategies set up and we can work with the council to set those strategies, maybe in the performance plan section. But as long as we have strategies set up, then the subgrantee is going to be creating those goals for us to have data or information on progress and implementation.
And so under Title II, guys, that's exactly how it works. They come in and they tell us what their metrics is. And then we have to go back and look at it and go, are they actually meeting this? They say, we're gonna work with 300 kids. We come to the first quarter, they've got 20.
Yeah.
They're going, okay. That's when I reach out and go, okay. If you said you're gonna meet 300 kids and we've got 20 after the first 3 months, what are you gonna do to get us to the spot where we meet these goals that you set? Not that we set.
And if the organization says we can't make that 300, do you ask for the money back?
Basically what we come down to is then we help them maybe rewrite their goals. But until usually that first quarter, we aren't able to say whether, they say we're gonna meet 300. I'm like, wow, great, 300. We get to that first spot and they go 20. I go, are these goals realistic? Do we need to go in and modify?
Sure. So for scope of project, I would recommend for now, and we'll vote on it at the end, but programs must provide supervised after school services for youth.
Yeah. Take the school age.
So we would take out the school age, and then we would take out structured, and then we can have council discussion before a vote if we want to change that. And then for the scope of the project to include, you have those items listed. I think for cultural program, do we want to have that listed in as a purpose area and also as a scope of the project? Because right now it would be a purpose area, cultural programming, and then it will also be reflected as within the scope section. So I just think if we're good with how that looks, I would recommend a break, and then we come back after the break and start with funding structure.
I think it's okay to have both because mentoring is in both.
Is it okay if I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Okay. In your eligibility list, are kids who are homeschooled, do they fit that list? Could homeschoolers go to this after-school program?
If they were in an after-school program, which some are, yes, they could be eligible for this if they are in that after-school program. For example, at the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club or whatever.
So that falls under nonprofit organizations. That falls potentially under school-based programming. So I don't know that you're basically, unless they do have the homeschool co-ops.
Correct.
That are out there.
Correct.
But typically that you're going to find them under your nonprofit, and your homeschool co-ops are nonprofit anyway.
Right? Yeah. So I think, James, yes, the answer is yes, if they are in that qualifying after-school program.
Okay, and I have a second question, which is, could schools such as Big Sandy Public Schools do fundraisers to help fund this program? Because it seems like, I don't know, you guys are a little worried on the 300,000, and I was wondering if maybe our schools could help fund it and maybe bring more money in.
That is awfully kind of you, and certainly your school district could do whatever, but I don't think from a broad standpoint, James, no. This would be money that people would apply for. And if they wanted to supplement that, let's say that your school district got some of the money for an after-school program, and let's say they got $50,000 and your program costs $60,000, you would have to come up with the other 10 somehow, and certainly fundraising could be part of your program. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
We would not want you to go fundraise on behalf of us at this point, no.
Okay.
But that's kind of you to ask.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha, and thank you for your questions. You don't sound 13, you sound 18. Kayla asked that we approve this scope and then that we take a lunch break. Is everybody good with the scope the way she presented? Anything to add there, Rachel?
I think what is important to remember is this is sort of like a pilot, and we're doing the best we can with it. And we do have to kind of work within a lot of means. But it's exciting that it exists, and I'm really grateful for this office who's got to do so much of the heavy lifting for it. But I think it's going to be really cool for programs across the state, and we're going to just bring James to the legislature next year to testify about how important these programs are for our kids.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are through the scope. Let's take a lunch break. How long do we want to break for people online?
Gary, you're scheduled to come back at 12:45.
So you have about 30 minutes.
I feel like with the amount of discussion, though, we should come back earlier. Would you guys be opposed to a 20-minute lunch here and come back at 12:30?
That's good.
So those of you online, you've got 20 minutes. Hopefully you can rejoin us here in 20 minutes, but please, we're gonna suspend the meeting. Is that what we're gonna do? Suspend it? We're gonna suspend the meeting right now at 12:10, and we're gonna join at 12:30. So go get something to eat. Okay, welcome back to the meeting at 12:32. And yes, David, we'd like to welcome you to the meeting. David is stepping in on behalf of Judge Nicely. David, you want to say anything for the group real quick? And then we're going to get back into our discussion where we are. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm David Talley. I'm Judge Nicely's law clerk. I've worked for about 2.5 years. I'm mostly attending here to take notes for Judge Nicely. We've been in a criminal jury trial all week, and then we additionally, I apologize for my tardiness today, had our steer court and camo court, which is our 2 treatment court graduations this morning, and had a number of state and federal officials and dignitaries in that we were accommodating. So it's been quite a morning, but I'm glad to be here, and I'm mostly just going to be taking notes as Judge Nicely and I have not had an opportunity to confer about, what her updates would be for you all this morning. So again, apologize for my tardiness, but glad to be here.
Well, there's no need to apologize. We get it and we understand, and we're very appreciative that you're here now. So thank you. And if there's anything to pass on to her, or if she passes anything on to you, let us know.
She may have a chance, if there's a break in the trial, to pop in as she's done in the past and take my chair and tell you something that would be of use to you. So yeah, I'll let you know.
That sounds great. Thank you, David. Okay, where we are, David, and for the rest of the group, we are going over this funding option, and we were just got through the scope, and so we're looking at the funding structure, I think, is where we are now, Jeremy.
Okay. So then I'll just read this real quick to you, and then we'll get to what you guys have to decide. Okay. So project period. Again, like I said, we moved it up here, but it's already built into the funding structure. Project period is July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Reimbursement-based funding. There's no match required. And then we get into council must finalize the maximum amount of awards amount per applicant, minimum award amount, if any, and whether to reserve funds for tribal or rural applicants, and whether we are going to entertain shorter project periods for the thing. So those are the things that the decisions that have to come out of the funding structure.
So council members, go ahead, Christy.
I was just gonna say, it's gonna be kind of hard until we see how many applicants there's gonna be as far as the maximum and the minimum award amount. I would think that would determine.
But I think to Jeremy's point, I think he wants to, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think you want to make it enough so that I think we kind of, you're right, it's going to be hard, but I think we want to decide now so we have a set amount and it's enough that's going to cause them to apply. Is that correct, Jeremy?
The internal conversations that we've had, and this is completely a suggestion, it's nothing more than that, is that we look at breaking that into probably 6, and you look at it about $50,000. That is a suggestion. That is nothing more than that. It can be whatever you guys want. If you guys want to say we come through and we have 15 applicants that just look great and we're going to break it evenly among those or what have you, that's completely comes back to you. But from dealing with the Title II funds, more often than not, if we don't give a fairly significant amount, that people are going, it's just not worth their time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's difficult when you apply for something like that. And what I worry about is if, we have 15 applicants and we change the amount. Like for me, I just feel more comfortable if we have a set amount and say, we're going to accept, we're going to grant 10. I mean, I was thinking 10, 30,000, or 50, whatever, the group decides, but I mean, it would be hard if I apply and you say 50,000 and then you come back and say, oh, well, we have really great candidates. We're only going to award.
And that's where I would say that you're looking at, that 6, we're going to award 6 and period. That's what it is. And we go through and go, the best 6 applicants get funding.
Rachel, I keep picking on you because you're our after school gal. What do you think? I agree with you, Tina, and think that an amount would be good. I understand what you're saying, Christy, but it would be hard for us to apply and not know exactly what you're applying for. Rachel, what would be a good, if we went with, not saying we have to, like Jeremy said, it's just a suggestion, but if we went with we're going to do 10 at 30,000, we're going to do 6 at 50,000, we're going to do 3 at 100,000. What would be, like, what after school programs, what their funding looks like? What would be a good 10, 3, 6? What would be a good one, you think?
Yes. So I'm kind of constantly amazed by what programs can do with very little. They are scrappy. Of course, the more they have, the better they can do. But I think you don't I would say no less than 10. 20 to 25 would be pretty significant for some of the programs out there, especially the little ones. They could actually have like a half a staff person with that. But I do think there's something kind of interesting about doing just like a certain number at one tier, a certain number at a higher tier, and a certain number, like 3 at much higher tier. Because then you could really say, like, you have a great project and we think that this really does deserve it. So I think putting that clear before you have the application out is a good idea, because again, they'll look a little bit more if it's worth what they're putting together. Yeah, and that's my thoughts. If you want more, I can go into more.
Well, 12. If you did 25, it'd be 12. Go ahead, Bree.
Well, I was just thinking from a position of applying from grants before, if it can be really unhelpful to get a partial amount of what we're asking for. And that's why I do think the flat amount, it seems like everybody thinks that's a good idea, or many people do. But one thing that would have been helpful in my grant application processes before was if I could say, here's what I could do for 10,000 and here's what I could do for 30,000. So maybe if there was like that could be an option, is to have like a two-tiered or as Rachel's saying, even like a three-tiered piece, then yeah, then we could meet a few different needs based on where we see priority, what we think is a really good idea. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing on our end either.
Any other thoughts from any council members?
I'm gonna put my 2 cents out. I think that's a lot to manage if you have 3 different tiers. That's my only concern is how much time do you have to dedicate to keeping track of the 3 different tiers and who sits in what, and maybe that evolves as the money grows. I was just gonna say.
Would you feel the same way, Tina, with 2 tiers? Is it
Well, I
still
don't know
a
who
lot?
managing it.
No, I know. But I'm saying, I think you have a valid point, but I also think Rachel and Bree have good points about, yeah, this project is awesome. So they're gonna, and they would know it up front. I'm making this up, but maybe you had 2 50s and 8 25s. So I'm applying for the 25 because here's what I want to do, but I've really got this great thing, so I'm applying for the 50. So you would know it. So in terms of you monitoring that, there, you and I, Tina, you, I, and Christy are applying for the 50, and the rest in the room are applying for the 25. I don't know that that's that much more. It's different, 2 different things, right?
It's up to you. Like I said, we do whatever, I do whatever you tell me to do, what it really comes down to. The one thing that I will say is that I would really hate to go, I'm going for the 50 and I don't get the 50, so I get nothing, but my program was every bit as good as these people that got 25s.
Right.
So now we're sitting at a spot where we are making that determination as they go through. But what it comes down to is whatever it is that you guys want, that's what we'll do.
So if we did 12 25s and we only had 10 applicants or 10 good ones, then what do we do?
Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
So in some of our other grants, when we do have a certain amount of money, we say that there's a cap, knowing that there's a $300,000 funding limit for 5 applicants or 30 applicants. We know that organizations will ask, because organizations know how we basically function when we make awards. And so some of them will ask for the moon, some of them will ask for 300,000, some of them will ask for 32,000, because that's exactly what they need for their program. And so I think if we put a cap on something, they can ask up to that amount, but no more than that, knowing that if there's a $30,000 cap or a $50,000 cap, they're going to ask for what they need, and limit it to that much amount so that you can have more availability, I guess, for more applications that do come in. And I anticipate, just knowing what we get for Title II, we're going to get 15 applications, maybe more, maybe less, but it's gonna be around that much. And
how many applicants do you think are going to come at us with this, Rachel? Is my question.
The funding landscape right now is tough. People are looking for money everywhere. And so, I mean, I do know that we'll probably put it out to our newsletter, just since it's an opportunity. We do that with anyone we can that applies to programs. And people who consistently read that, probably consistently every month, is about 75 people. So I would guess you have pretty, at least 15. I think that there's reasonable, you're going to want to put a window on the application of it opens this day and closes this day, just for your sake of not having to deal with all of those lingering applications. But I think Griselda's right, and just put a cap on it, and then that gives you some flexibility, so that if you really only actually have 10 people, you could do 30,000 each. But if you have 15 people, that cap, you could actually say like, no, we're going to do 20,000 and 25 for you. You could have a little more flexibility with your awards. You could do sort of like, it'll be a minimum of 15,000 and a maximum of 30,000, so people know it's worth their time to apply. That would probably be helpful for a lot of people to know they're not like going to get 2,000.
Griselda, did you have anything else?
So the only other thing that I would add is that just so that you're all aware, we do use a grant management system, and that's the plan for this this grant, and it's called UNA, formerly Amplifund. And there's a certain avenues that we have to go through to be able to put that opportunity and the way applications come in. So it's not going to be a traditional paper and pencil. We're sending it out, let's get them in. There's going to be an open date, a close date, question and answer date that we will show them. It's called the offers call. So we would do that. And then we would, because it would be competitive, we would not be answering questions to just anybody saying, oh, I think I want to apply for this. We would refer them to the application, and we would refer them to ask questions through the Q&A process. And so just to kind of make that clear, that's how this process functions through our end. And so that's all else. The only thing I would add.
Thank you. So anybody have any ideas on amounts? I'm thinking I liked what you said, Rachel, and I'm just saying this so we can get this moving. Anybody can slow us down or speed us up. But I like what you said about 25, because I was thinking more like Tina. I was thinking 30 to 50. But if you're thinking 25 is attractive to people, that gives us the opportunity to give out 12 25s. And that's kind of a lot. And then listening to you say that we may get 15, maybe even more applicants, that puts us in a good range there, that it gives us a couple that, I hate to say it this way, but we could actually say no to. You didn't meet the qualifications, or you didn't, this doesn't look worthy, but yet it also allows us to give most of that, or to give most of them. If we have 15 and we have 12 to give out, almost everybody's going to get it. I kind of like the idea of a minimum here and a maximum here, but I want it to be simple for Griselda and Jeremy and crew, because there is no administrative fee to this. So they're not getting, their time and effort. Obviously they're getting paid, but they're not getting any help out of this. So I think the easier it is that way, the better. So I'm not ready to make a motion, but maybe for more discussion, what do you guys think about 12 25,000 grants towards the stuff we put in here, just to get the ball rolling here?
Mhm.
I really liked when we went in and we said, here's the minimum and here's the maximum, and not putting
Not a
number of grants coming through. So we go, you come in, you have the stuff, this looks good. Yep, this is 50. This one looks, this looks promising. You asked for 32. We can give you 25. We can give you 32. That gives us that variance, so allowing to be able to move that metric, as opposed to going, we just have 12 25s.
So we have grants available from, I'm making this up, from 25 to 30.
We could do that. I actually liked where she went. You could go 15 at a minimum. You're not gonna get less than 15, and you could get up to 50.
Up to 50. Okay.
And whenever we go through, whenever we're at the money's spent, the money's spent.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? 15 to 50. Do they know there's a 300?
It's in the opportunity.
15 to 50. And again, the committee determines who you're funding, and when that money's out, that money's out.
So there will be, we have an art committee.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually will get the kind of the final say, and then it then goes, so we'll come back through here and then we'll go to the board.
Okay, 15 to 50.
I'm
So
gonna
there's
toss
not a
out.
number.
I feel like I'm an adversary somewhere. So, but this is just my critical thinking process. So thank you for hanging in there with me. For someone who has tried to figure out how to run funding with programs before, noticing also we're talking about a program starting as soon as July. If I were to ask for $30,000, because that's how much it takes me to hire a staff and get X gear, and you say you approve me for $23,000, I don't know. I have a very short time period to be able to secure the rest of that money to hire the staff I need. So like it can be really helpful to have like a concrete, yes, I'm going to get the amount of money I need to take my next steps in program operations. Or if I'm not going to get that full amount I'm asking for, to have enough time to figure out how to supplement it to move forward. So I think that's an advantage of having concrete numbers. And I also think sometimes when amounts are like, we can give you a part of this, then the program might say, oh, in that case, we can kind of fund this other thing, and things start to wiggle a little bit. I still think that's great. I'm not going to vote against it if we do just the range. But from running things from being predictable, it's really nice to be able to have that amount already calculated so I can move forward.
I'm 100% on board with you, Bree. That's exactly what I was trying to articulate. You did it a lot better. When I'm applying for things, yeah, if there's a moving target, I'm not as likely, we're not as interested, because like to your point, if you need 50,000 to do this, and I don't know exactly if I can apply for 50 and I get the 50, we run the program. If I can apply, but I'm not sure what I'm going to get, and especially you brought up a great point with the timeline. It's pretty short time period. If I don't know I'm going to get that, let's say I get it, I ask for 50 and I get it, but I only get 30. Now, can I even come up with the other 20 to actually to do it? Which is why I like the concrete numbers too. I'm not trying to sway anybody either. I think they're both valid points, but I agree wholeheartedly with you, Bree. Any other questions, comments?
So you tell me that you need $32,000 to run that, and we set it up at 25. You're still having to figure out where that's at.
But we know.
Right, but she knows it, and she can now go out for another grant of 7,000 somewhere else.
I got you.
At the same time, she's going after yours.
But we're still at that short period.
Sure, for sure. Yep.
Or I can
I'll
say, well, here's what I
is-
can do for 25K.
This is what, but our Title II works that
Right.
way, is that we go, you come through and you go,
Right,
I asked for 70, and we go, well, we can give you 30.
right.
Which I was gonna, as being on that ARC committee, that's what we do. We split the baby all the time. I gotta say, I'll never apply for one of those grants because of that. Right? Because I'm like, if I can't run it, I'm not gonna run it.
And that's why initially when we came through and we went, you got 6 at 50, and you know that you
Yeah,
that it's
so
50. So we only have 6, and
I
you may
kinda
or may not
like
get it
that.
at 50.
Like we go through and we'll do that. We're like, almost every time we end up splitting the money equally among all of them, which means no one's happy. And no one really has enough to run the program. So I lean towards giving a
On Title II.
yeah.
We had one that actually got what they needed.
Yeah. And like I said, if I'm, if I won't apply for that grant, but if I did and I got that back, I just say, well, we're not doing the program. So I guess you guys you can figure out someone else to do that money. Because,
So that was where, when we first talked about it being enough money that you
Yeah.
knew that you went in, we have 6, they're 50,000. There you go. And if you came back and said 50,000 doesn't do it, then not to even bother to apply.
And let's say it really, they run it for 48, they get 50, or they run it for 46. I don't care. If they meet the goals, right? That they get the project done. So I like the idea of a firm grant amount. In my mind, it will increase applicants, right? That they know what's there and they can plan around that. But I get the flexibility piece, but
And that was more in line with what we do with the Title II.
Yeah.
But initially, when we started off, that's why we came back with that number that was large enough that was worth, I can run the program. I need to hire a staff, and then we have this much equipment that we need to purchase to be able to run this. Oh, we have the money to do it.
yeah, and I appreciate Rachel's comment that like 25 is a lot of money to these programs. I think I really like it. We're going to give this many $25,000 grants. People can decide if they want to apply. We don't have to spend a lot of time saying, give this one 18 and this one.
Right, exactly. Well, and especially with it being a pilot project where no one's ever gotten this money.
Yeah.
20, I mean, nothing to 25 is a big deal. I like it.
Yeah, so.
And to your point, Mike, on that art committee, it does put a lot of pressure on you guys. And that is what usually happens is you end up splitting it.
Nobody feels good.
No.
Yeah. And not, and not to look a gift horse in the mouth,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of good and stuff like that. But yeah, if you needed 47 and you only got 32, now you got to figure that out. Whereas here, if you need 50, but you can get 25 here, then you're going to go after this 25 and you're going to go after 25 somewhere else, or you're going to make the program work for 25 and whatever you might be able to add to it.
And the other thing I've seen with the Title II stuff, they'll apply for an amount of funding, but they'll have ways to pay for that. They're going to do that program anyway.
Right.
And we're not getting more things out of them. Okay. Yeah. Because again, they've got a plan. They've got it right there. They're like, if I get that, I'll shift some resources over here and do this little extra thing. But we don't get much, in my opinion, at least not what I've seen in our community. We don't get much extra. Great. I think if we said this is $25,000, they can count on. They get it. We might see some new programs come out there. We might see some folks say, makes sense to me. I can do it.
Can I ask Criselda and Jeremy, maybe Kayla, this? Again, if we did 12 25s, I'm making this up, and we only got 10 applicants or 10 were awarded, what happens to the other 50,000?
Usually it gets moved into.
So what we would do is tell you here is what the application said, and we only got 10 applicants, so we have $50,000 remaining. Then we'd give you option 2, option 3 to say, if we were to use all of this funding, we can give them an extra 2,000 or 5,000, and then get a revised budget at that point.
Spread it out amongst the
rather than making everybody unhappy, making everybody a little happier. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay, before a motion's made, any more discussion on how we want Jeremy to write this out in terms of the funding structure? Okay, does anybody care to make a motion?
We haven't made motions on any.
Or actually, yeah, never mind. We're going to do that at the very end, right? Okay, so moving on. We have an idea on funding, I think, but keep going.
Okay. So again, to move past this, maximum award per applicant, minimum award, if any, whether reserve funds for the tribal or rural applicants, and whether a shortened period is allowed. We have to finalize what that looks like.
So we're gonna do an amount here in a little bit. I don't think I just heard the discussion go and we're just gonna do an amount. So I don't think there's a minimum. Do we want to reserve funds for tribal or rural applicants? That's something he'll need to know to write in. Do we want to do that?
I think on that one, if there's a way we could prioritize those programs through the rubric, I think that would be great. But I think then if we end up doing, like, we're absolutely setting aside for this many programs and then not that many apply, we then end up having to spread it out. So is there a way to put it in the rubric so that gives you like a bump up in your application?
Right, so scoring a little bit higher if you are a tribal or rural applicant.
So the question is, do we want to put that in there? Sounds like a couple do. I see some heads.
As
I also
long as
think
it's in the rubric.
it should be
Okay,
in the
so-
rubric and it should be in the RFP so people know that if they're rural, they get an extra bump. That would encourage those ones to apply because I think right now a lot of programs are like, Missoula or Bozeman will get it. I'm not going to apply. So I think they would be happy to see that.
Okay, and then whether shorter project periods are allowed, explain that, like,
Well, right now, the project period would be from July 1st to
Okay.
June 30th,
Okay.
and they say that we're gonna run this program for 6 months.
how do we feel about that? I think that's fine if it's a quality program and it's doing what it says it's gonna do. What do other people think?
Mhm.
Does it
Especially
matter?
if it's going to be a summer program, then
Yeah.
by nature it will be shorter.
So, sounds like we're good with that. Okay, allowable and unallowable costs. I think that looks awesome, but.
Well, that just, so personnel supporting after school, personnel, I should probably say supporting programming as opposed to after school programming, because it can be weekends, it could be summer, it could be what have you.
Okay,
So, so just strike that piece in, evidence-based curriculum. Mentoring services, supplies and materials, transportation for youth, training for staff, food and snacks that are tied to programming and services. Unallowable is anything that, so supplanting. So if they're already have funding for something, they can't take and go, well, we're gonna move this out of here, so we're gonna use this for that. They can't build anything, they can't buy anything in terms of property. Entertainment not tied to the program goals, and capital equipment not tied to programming. So, I mean, if they bought a printer for the after school program, great. If they bought one to run for their whole office, and it's not directly tied, now we start running into a problem. I don't know how we prove that. It's just one of those things, but that comes out of federal
Mhm.
guidelines.
I was gonna say, how do you tie that? Cause I'm gonna go back to my OPI hat. And I know Title I Part D for our neglected delinquent youth is if it is like, for example, Department of Corrections wanted to get an HVAC system for their wood shop, but yet some of the kids that were in that, well, not kids, but were over the 21, they weren't allowed to get it. How strict are we going to be on this? Because I know, I'm like,
If I may.
yes, ma'am.
So the way that we normally function with all of the grants is one, to stay within the guidelines
Mhm.
and of the strictest allowability. And so we, for example, when we fund shelters, we know that they buy diapers and wipes and they buy crackers and milk and different things. That's all okay, as long as they can tie it to the program.
Mhm.
So typically, and if something is purchased that doesn't make sense to us, we're gonna ask questions. What was it for? How did you use it? What's the intention? As long as it doesn't go into equipment, anything over 10,000, which, with this amount of money, it's just not gonna happen. But typically that is how we would look at these funds, because we also have to make sure that when we show the legislature what we did with the funding, that it's all allowable, and they're not going to question, the something on a receipt that we didn't catch that is clearly unallowable. Let's just say somebody working picked up something for personal and oops, it's in my bill. We would make sure that's our job, to make sure that everything's allowable. But again, we're going to show that it ties into programming and that it is allowable because of A, B, and C, the way that these programs are run. And we're not going to get questioned by the state and the auditors, because we get audited as well for our state funds.
Yeah.
So this is just basically information that says that.
Okay. Performance plan requirements.
So basically they have to set goals. And quarterly, they'll request their funding, but they also have to come back and tell us, well, what did you do? And based on your goals. And we, like I said, there's some we use under Title II, basically a SMART goal that says, hey, we did this is who's been good, blah, blah, blah. We saw 45 kids, fantastic. Bang. So, so underneath this piece, it comes back is that they have to report.
So,
And it's in the units. So they go in and they give us our goals. It's put right in. They have a spot that says, hey, what did we do during this period? Write it up. Look at it, looks good. Like it. They submit their funding piece. Then fiscal goes through it and goes, yep. Oh, what's this? You need to provide some information that tells us what this is about. And then once that's done, then if it's approved, then they get funded.
okay, so they're getting reimbursed for everything that they've already spent.
That's how we have it written here earlier in the thing that they have to. This is reimbursables.
Yeah. And so I see the concern with nonprofits. Yep, I saw the face. So what we've done with some of our other nonprofits is on a monthly reimbursement, so that they spend it on the 1st, on the 30th, they're going to be requesting a reimbursement. That way their money flows monthly instead of quarterly. And that helps out a lot of the smaller programs.
And that was an option that was early on. It could be done either way.
Okay.
And that's
We
not
talked about that
completely
earlier.
uncommon.
Quarterly or monthly. And we do that. We don't necessarily do that with our other grant that we oversee, the regional juvenile detention centers, because they come in and they go, what we want. 75,000. We go, okay. And so they're going to have to show cause.
I'm just thinking as brand new programming, with this being a pilot where they are trying to create something and they don't have the funds to create it, it might be a crutch for some of them to apply.
Well, and I don't know that this is set up. This is a pilot program for the state.
Right.
This isn't, I don't necessarily think set up to do pilot programming at this after school piece. And so I don't see this as hey, we're going to start up a blah, 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 and we're going to need this thing. I don't think this is set up for that.
More to expand it to the STEAM programs.
Gotcha.
Director Bragg.
Yeah, good conversation. I was just gonna share that the goals that they're creating, the SMART goals, are based off what we would put in our application of the strategy listed to provide structured evidence-based after school programming. They're listed in that material. So if there's any changes to that, we'd be happy to make them good. But that's what they'll be reporting on.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Scoring criteria, I think it should be competitive. I think that's what we've talked about. But does everybody agree with that? Needs to be competitive. Okay, I think we're good there. And then reporting requirements. I think that is what you currently do, and that's the accountability piece, right?
Exactly.
So we need to, are we all in agreement then with all those suggested requirements? I think we are. Now we need to kind of go back and sort of vote on this. And one of the big things we need to do, I think, is come up with the amounts, right? We've sort of voted on everything else. I mean, we can vote generally, but the one thing we need to do is, what do we want? A maximum amount, a minimum? We already said we're going to reserve funds. We already said shorter projects are fine, but what is the amount? How many grants at what amount are we advertising?
I like 25 across the board.
I do too. The 12 for 25.
Anybody have other thoughts on that? 12 grants for 25,000 a grant.
Chair, this is Kayla. Based off the conversation, are we setting a number of grants or we're just saying a cap?
Good question. I think we're saying both, but we probably need to talk about them.
Yeah.
I think we're saying 12 at 25.
12 at 25. Yeah.
Is that fair, Jeremy and Criselda, who deal with these?
I think so.
And Rachel, I'm going back to, putting some pressure on you. I like that you said 25 would make an impact for these programs, and 12's a lot. 12's better than 3 at 100.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get over 12 applicants. I think that a lot of the programs that'll apply will use up 25 pretty quickly, but we'll be happy for that 25. And I think that what is also going to be good is we're going to show that we really did, spread it across the state, use the money well, and hopefully show the need for more money because we're going to have more applicants than are unfortunately able to apply for it. And that's the hardest part going forward. But it is ultimately good because it shows the need.
So here's a question for you that we talk about a little bit with Title II is that the vast majority of all the money spent goes to Western Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And so do we want to be in a situation where we almost regionalize, excuse me, that funding, because that's one piece that we really run into is Bozeman, Missoula, Kalispell. 90% of our money goes there.
Will having the rubric aspect for rural help offset that at all? Or would that not quite meet the need you're going for?
What about if somebody's statewide and they are doing the entire state? How does that?
Yeah, I think we're getting into some really deep areas of conversation. Yeah. And the intention is to send out the information statewide. We can't control who applies. We do know that a lot of our applicants for other funding does come from Western Montana. We do have a rubric for geography rural that we use for a different grant that we could easily implement for this one.
And not saying we have to, I just was putting that out there because that's one of the things that is almost dismaying is that we don't get.
Rural gets shorted a lot, that's for sure. But I think, Criselda, you have a good point. I mean, it's really going to be up to the art committee to sort of figure some of that out. And if that is already in one of the rubrics, yeah, incorporate that into this one, and that can be taken into account by the people that are awarding it. That we're trying to spread it geographically across the state. But the reality is, and I get mad I live in Dillon, so yeah, we always lose out to Missoula, Bozeman, and Kalispell or Billings. But if that is who is, has the best program according to the rubric and is going to make the most impact for the most kids or whatever, then that's where, and that is the reason they get a lot, because they have the population base. So I think if we have a conscious effort in the committee to try to represent some rural places, which we're already doing simply with the tribal, or whether to reserve funds for tribal and rural applicants, we're already doing that. We're trying to do that, but we may not get any from any rural areas. So.
Well, and I think it also depends on where we advertise this. I mean, we can do it with the Small Schools Alliance because they have a lot of reach to the rural area. So I think just being strategic on how we get the word out that this funding is available. Agreed.
Okay, it's out there. 10 for 20 or 12 25s. Does anybody care to did we make a motion on that? Or Kayla?
For time, would you like me to go through what we have?
Sure.
As the final, and then somebody can make a motion?
Beautiful. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So program description, everything stays the same except for adding the dates of the project. Eligibility is open to eligible applicants that And we would insert to implement evidence-based after-school programs that support youth safety, academic engagement, mentoring, and positive youth development across Montana. Eligible applicants stay the same except for adding private schools. Purpose areas all stay the same except for adding cultural programming as a purpose area. The scope of project, we have programs must provide supervised after-school services for youth. So that was revised. Scope of the project to include or leave broad open. None of those items there were changed or revised, so stays at the same. Funding structure, total available funding $300,000. The project period July 1 to June 30th. Reimbursement-based funding, no match required. 12 programs at $25K cap. Whether to reserve funds for tribal or rural applicants, that is going to be added into our scoring criteria as a priority. Whether shorter project periods are allowed, that is allowed. There is not a minimum of a minimum award, so none there. Allowable and unallowable cost, we're going to strike in the first personnel supporting after school program. We're just going to strike it and say personnel. For the performance plan requirements, we did not have any changes to the strategy that the programs will base their goals off of. And then the scoring criteria, again, we added a priority points essentially for tribal or rural applicants. And then it's competitive, and then no changes to reporting requirements.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for recapping all that. Any questions on any of that, Christy?
I just have one question. Do we have when this is going to open for people to apply?
So the plan, the goal would be after today, we will get it finalized with all of the comments that Kayla just mentioned, and then put it into the system. So ideally, it would then go to the board on March 12th. So we would like to release it probably mid-March, the week of March 16th, if at all possible on our end with staffing. Give it a probably 4 to 6 week open period. So it would be open up until mid-April, where we would then put it into scoring, get everything ready for a committee, probably April, end of April, beginning of May for the ARC, and then take it to the June board meeting. So it's a fast track, fast turnaround, but that's the only way to get a July 1st start date.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Griselda. That was very helpful.
And it is fast, but I think to your point, Christina, and with Rachel, what she said earlier about the 75 people or whatever that she's in contact with through newsletter or whatever, it's gonna get out there it's gonna get out to those groups pretty fast. And obviously somebody may miss it with the short turnaround, but that's just life sometimes. But I think having Rachel on this board and having her connections with a lot of the after school and school districts, and is it After School Alliance? What is it, Rachel? After school?
Yeah, we're called the Montana After School, but we do have ties with other organizations that are kind of the small schools, districts, and organizations. So I think we have a lot of channels to get it out with. And I think that probably a lot of people on this call actually know folks in their communities who might be interested in applying. I think it is always hard to play the balance of trying to get it out there to a ton of people so that we show the need, and then also disappointing a lot of people who have great programs and could use this money, but having to prioritize it. That'll be tough on all of us, but again, it's still really exciting to have this pilot. So we'll just need to get it out, and we'll definitely do that.
More questions. Thank you, Rachel. More questions before we entertain a motion. Tina.
Can we just get that announcement sent to the group
Prior to being released?
Yes.
No, once it's
once it's released,
so that we could get it out to
so that we can disseminate it to people as well.
once the board approves it, and then once you guys do what you need to do, and I think you usually do that.
We do.
Yeah. So you'll see it Tina here probably in late March.
I'd say, yeah, no, the goal is the week, probably by the 20th of March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody care to make a motion?
I can make a motion.
Christie? What's your motion? So moved?
So moved. All of the changes Kayla talks about.
Okay, Jeremy, is that a good enough motion? Do we need any more clarification?
I think probably just looking for a second.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second to accept all the changes that Kayla mentioned under the after-school funding? Tina seconds. It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? What a great, robust discussion. Thank you all very much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Bree, I'm assuming yours was affirmative, right? Okay, I spoke too quick. Okay, any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Jeremy, for all your work on that. Kayla and Chrisella, thank you for helping explain some of that. Okay, we get to get lunch again. Recommendation process, Jeremy.
Okay. So, when we sat down and talked about what we were looking at recommendations, one of the things Dan came forward and goes, we should build a process that says, this is what we're doing. Essentially, so that as we go through that, we are actually, by the time it gets time to actually make the recommendations, we've been able to work through them. We've got a solid set of recommendations that can then go forward to the governor. So the purpose of the recommendation process is to establish a clear, consistent, data-informed process for how the YJC identifies, develops, tracks, and finalizes recommendations throughout the calendar year. It supports the council's statutory responsibility, strengthens the quality and impact of the recommendations, and ensures the final recommendations included in the governor's reports are actionable, measurable, and aligned with statewide youth justice priorities. Okay. So the goals of the recommendation were basically is that we create a structured, transparent process for drafting and refining recommendations, ensure the recommendations are informed by data, stakeholder input, and systems needs. They apply consistent format structure, who should do what, when, so that we can track, draft, and approve recommendations using standardized data matrix, and prepare a finalized recommendation for the reports. And so the idea is that we will be able to build this over time. Okay. Like we did this year, we said, hey, we really like these ones. We like this, but is this the time for this? So then we were able to move forward and maybe have more information or what have you, right? Step one is to identify recommendation topics, ongoing initial topics identified in the March and June meeting. So I actually have, as we go through that, I have the stuff that happened at our last meeting and going, hey, or this is still where we're going with this. Sources include the YJC member input, MBCC staff analysis, data presentations, stakeholder presentations. And so that's something we're going to talk about later on as we draft it out, what is actually going to happen throughout the year. So if we come through and say, hey, we've got this, we need more information on this, like let's say assessment centers, that in the next meeting that we would actually have somebody from the National Assessment Center come in, talk about this. Is this possibility? Does this make sense? Is this a goal that we want to move forward? Okay. Emerging issues identified by youth serving systems or legislative or policy gaps. Okay. Step two, draft recommendations. So we're basically looking from this meeting through September, because we need to have that put together and ready to go by the December meeting. Okay. Each draft recommendations includes a problem statement. So background, we're looking for data summaries, who's gonna do what, when is that gonna happen? Required format, essentially. Who the target population is, what potential system impact we have. Are there going to be any barriers? Can we identify those? And then that comes back to, is this maybe even a recommendation that we want to move forward? And then the data metrics assigned. And so you drop down, and as you go through, we'll keep moving. Draft recommendations will be reviewed at the March and the June meetings. Data integration and analysis. So we're going to decide what it is we're going to take a look at, and then from June and September we're going to put the numbers to it and see, does this make sense? Does this work? Data sources include the youth court data. I get that every year. I use that for the red, and then MBCC data. And then, like I said, here's the red reporting again, which is based off of the youth court data, and then subject matter expert presentations as we go through. Like I said, our next meeting, the plan is to try to have somebody from the National Assessment Center to come and speak on this. They will be used to validate the needs for each recommendation, identifies disparities, gaps, strengthening the evidence base. So when we do present it to the governor, that we can show, hey, this really is worthwhile goals. And then assign appropriate data matrix. Step 4, refinement and prioritization for the September meeting. So then we look at reviewing the draft recommendations, finalize any language, confirm data metrics, prioritize recommendations for the governor's report, and identify any recommendations requiring additional research before December. Or it may be that spot where we go, this isn't a recommendation that we need to put, we can put forth right now because we need more information. The YJC will review all draft recommendations, finalize language, confirm assigned data matrix, prioritize the recommendations for the governor's report, and identify any recommendation requiring. Okay, then we get into finalizing the governor's report, which is the December meeting. That's why we need to put these together, these next two. And we need to be able to put the numbers to it, find out what we need to have, so that then when we get to December that we can actually put them into play. So YJC will review the final recommendation language. We're going to vote on the recommendations, confirm inclusion in the report, and approve the final recommendation package. The recommendation format package is who, what, when, and why. Okay. And then recommendations, data matrix, each recommendation will be assigned standardized data metrics to support long-term tracking and analysis. Metrics include the theme category. So underneath our various different things, we're talking mental health, education, systems of care, detention, placement. As you can read as we go through, what the impact would be statewide, regionally, local, and then system-specific, court, probation, schools. Priority level, how important is this, high, medium, or low? Target population, youth in detention, probation, tribal youth, rural youth, youth with behavioral health needs, youth experiencing trauma or exploitation, responsible entities, who is going to be pushing these goals, data source used, again, same things we were before, including stakeholder interviews and any national models. Tracking and documentation, MBC will maintain a recommendations tracking log that includes data recommendations. That's why I have the ones here so we can talk about what we did before. Final recommendations for the December meeting, assigned data metrics, status updates, notice from the YJC discussions, implementation considerations, and historical comparison to prior years. And then this log will support what goes into the governor's report. The trend, as we've gone through, as you've noticed that our recommendations over the last few years haven't changed much. Is this a recommendation that we want to continue to move forward because we're not making any traction with this? Is there something that would be better for us to do? And that would bring us into enabling us to plan for the next year. What are we going to put on our plate? What are the things we're going to talk about? And then what kind of legislative engagement are we looking at?
Gotcha.
So that would be an action item if that is, we're already moving forward with that plan.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
On the youth court data, I remember there was issues with what was in there. We're pulling it for the governor's report.
We're completely at when they get that done.
What? Okay, got it.
So we don't, that unfortunately, that's not an option. The youth court takes all their data, sends it to the University of Montana. The University of Montana crunches it. It comes back, they write the report. We wait until they give us a report. And I actually asked for it multiple times this year and so, yeah, we're completely at their mercy.
Okay.
Unfortunately. And right now, there's no other way for us to collect that data.
I think the process looks great.
Mhm.
What does everyone else think?
I think it looks great.
Yeah, Chair, I would just say, Jeremy, really nice job pulling this together. It reads like it's a lot, but I think as we practice it, it'll get easier. And essentially, getting to the goal of, every recommendation you have may not have all of this stuff that's applicable,
Right.
but over time, we're really going to be able to, have a picture of what is coming out of the council. And what our priority areas are. So just really nice job. I know it's looking at it, it can be overwhelming because we haven't had something like this before, but we can always change it and revise it as we do it, right? And just making sure that we're working with you guys to lead up to December to not have a mad dash to get recommendations done. So figuring out how to do that within the year and then continuing to collect data about it.
It does look like a lot, but I think it also is not a lot in that it sort of makes a good, clear process.
And it flows nicely. Mhm.
Other comments about it? Or questions for Jeremy about it? We are going to vote on this in a minute if we want to move forward using this process. Any other questions, comments before I entertain a motion? Okay, I will entertain a motion on if we want to use this process moving forward.
We adopt the process.
Mike has moved that we adopt process. Is there a second?
I can say.
Christy has second. It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I feel like we're on like a shortwave thing. I have to pause with the people online. Sorry about that. I rushed you guys. It looked like it was half for, half against. Motion passes unanimously. 2026 work plan. Also, Jeremy, this is also an action item.
Okay, so this is basically a layout for the direction for this next year. We went through and talked about, I went and took a look at kind of some of our recommendations and said, okay, if this is the stuff that's important to us, what are we going to do moving forward? So the purpose of the work plan is to outline the YJC's priorities, meeting topics, speakers, deliverables for the 26th calendar. This plan provides structure for the council of activities, supports the development of high quality recommendations, and ensures alignment with the statutory responsibilities in the governor's annual report. And so the annual objectives, so we want to strengthen the YJC's understanding of statewide youth systems operations, support the development of actionable data-informed recommendations, increase engagement with statewide and national partners, including assessment centers, courts, law enforcement, and service providers, improve the YJC's internal process for tracking, refining, and finalizing recommendations, and preparing the 2026 governor's report with finalized recommendations by the December meeting. So based on that, for March, looking at continuing looking for membership outreach. So review the current membership needs and statutory categories, identify outreach strategies to fill required roles, and assign follow-up actions for outreach prior to the next meeting. Right now I'm presenting the work plan. The one thing that as we come forward, the National Assessment Center Association are you guys all right with me reaching out to them and having a speaker come in and talk a little bit about the assessment centers?
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay. Discussion of new and emerging recommendations. We will we'll come back to that here in a minute. So review the draft recommendations identified in the December 2025 meeting. Identify recommendations required additional research or stakeholder engagement, or prioritize recommendations for the June discussion. Do the right thing. Update, and then the March presentation topic, which would be the assessment center piece, and then draft the initial review of draft recommendations requiring earlier discussion.
Can I time out real quick?
Sure.
Can you explain, since Marissa and we have a couple new people, this might be a good time to explain that you might be calling on them to help you review, do the right thing. Because you're gonna call on all of us, aren't you?
It's at the end.
It's at the end.
So
Perfect.
we'll come back to that.
Perfect.
We'll all talk about that.
Thank you.
So in June, like I said, we're looking at the national assessment centers, and going to talk a little bit about lack of assessment done in the state of Montana. Looking to identify gaps, opportunities, and potential recommendations. We'll have a short session on recommendation development. So this is what we have right now. What do we want to move forward with? Is there anything new? Deep review of priority topics. So this is that spot, like Marissa, I already have you talking. Welcome to the board. And so one of the things that came up is we're still having some issue about the time served for youth held in pre-detention. Looking at Title I, Part D, access to counseling, crisis stabilization, family preservation services. That was one of our previous recommendations. As was the Title I, Part D coordination was under recommendation 3. And then identify data needs, responsible agencies, and the next steps. A presentation about potentially getting Tom Biltine to come in and talk with us about that. Current laws and statutory and interpretations, application of time served, and then presentation of do the right thing, because we're looking at the follow-up for that piece as we're getting ready to send our ambassador to Washington. Okay. September, draft recommendations for the governor's report, review all draft recommendations developed to date, finalize language using the who should do what when, assign data matrix to each recommendation, mental health, systems of care, priority level, target population, then basic data presentation, potentially having Jeff Fossen come in and talk to us a little bit about that from the University of Montana, who is involved with our youth court data. Okay.
Yeah, it's Folsom, right?
Yeah, sorry, Folsom. Explanation of how the data is generated and interpreted, discussion of trends and drafts, and then an opportunity for Janice to come in. I already spoke to her and she said she would be happy to. It explains a little bit about our MBCC Statistics Analysis Center, overview of the MBC data process, explanation of why the data warehouse is not currently an option for us. And then use of data for the red report, data limitations and opportunities, and presentation on statewide inconsistency intake forms. The chief of police from Whitefish came out of California, out of their juvenile system, and he doesn't really like what we're doing and has some ideas about how we could do it different and better, which would give us that opportunity to bring that recommendation forward. Okay. And then recommendation refinement, integrate data insight into draft recommendations, identify remaining gaps prior to December. We're looking at the governor's report, final review, review and approve final recommendations, confirm data summaries and narrative section and vote on the final submission. At that point, as we've talked about the assessment centers, Idaho has told me that at any point that they would be happy to come in and speak with us and talk about what they do, how they do it, and how they came about being able to do it. And then development of the work plan for 2027, review the emerging issues, legislative needs, and system gaps, and then potentially talk about use summit. And so that was what you're looking at for your stuff for the year.
And the youth summit discussion.
What's that?
And the youth summit discussion.
Yeah, I said,
Yeah, okay. So, that is again a lot, but I think it looks great to have it mapped out like that. What do you need, Jeremy? A motion that this is a good work plan moving forward?
So we need a motion that we would adopt this work plan for the year.
Yeah. Is there any questions for Jeremy before we entertain a motion?
Comment, not a question.
Comment, Mike?
I appreciate the work and the structure, both in the previous section and in this, putting some more meaning in it. So nice job. Very
Yeah.
nice job. Thank you.
Good point. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt this work plan moving forward.
This is Marissa. I'd make a motion to adopt it.
This is Rachel.
Marissa moves and Rachel seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy, very much for all that work. Oh, wow. We are literally right on time. In fact, you're 30 seconds late. Okay.
In the waiting area.
Okay, financial report. Tammy?
Chair.
Yes.
Don't need to sit
Oh,
down.
sorry. Before Tammy,
Oh,
you
no,
back
you're
up for
right.
1
You're
minute.
right. Sorry,
Okay,
my bad.
no, that's all right. Okay, Tammy, financial report and introduce us to your friend.
Yes, I will. As you all know, Zach was getting these reports before. And so now that he is gone, I'm getting this report. But Kelly, this is Kelly Downer, and she has taken over the Title II subgrant program. So she will be giving these reports to you as she learns how it all works together. And so if you'd like to pull out your sheet that looks like this. Hi. This is Kelly. Hello. And
We're a
so-
tough group, Kelly.
Yeah.
Basically what this is telling you is for the 2022 Title II block grant, it will be closing in September 30th of 2026. I still have a few months after that to finish the accounting, but that is when the grant closes. And so any expenditures have to be approved prior to 9/30/2026. We awarded everything but $13,300.05. And of that, 12,600 has to be allowed toward tribes. So we have about 650. If we can get the new grant in and process that, then we can move that in. Otherwise, we have to leave that on the table. The YJC budget still has 17,000 left in it. The Do the Right Thing has 2,000. We should be able to spend those down easily. Compliance monitoring, we're starting to get bills back in. So hopefully we won't be leaving too much money on the table for 2022. 2023, again, the sub-grants closed. The tribal application we awarded and they never used it. So we still have 22,788 and 53,593.37 for those that didn't spend.
Can I back up real quick? So they didn't use it. So does that mean it automatically comes back?
We can use it until 2027. But again, it has to be.
But they no
used
longer have.
Right.
They can no longer use it.
They
Thank
can
you.
no longer use it.
Okay.
And so we have 76,381 to move forward into the next awarding period. And we're starting to use the administrative money. We're not spending that down very fast. And then you have 18,000 as the YJC. Do Right Thing for next year is 15,000, and compliance monitoring. As that keeps going, we'll get into that. And then our final, the most current grant, the sub awards will be closing at the end of this month. And so we won't know how much we have left on the table to award in the next period until about 45 days after that closes. So hopefully we'll know closer to June when you have your June meeting. And again, the administrative, the YJC, to Do the Right Thing, and the compliance monitoring, we haven't touched that yet. And then at the bottom, it tells you we have that 300,000 that you all discussed about the after school grant. And that's really all I have to report. Everything is flowing well.
Thank you, Tammy. Are there any questions for Tammy? From anybody?
Chair, I would just make a comment. This is Kayla Bragg. I think at some point, the council, we should maybe have a conversation about the tribal specific set aside monies, and maybe develop some strategies. It seems like that seems to be an area where the money is either coming back or it's not getting spent down. And it's my understanding, Tammy, I've learned from you that it has to be used for some very specific purposes and nothing else. Like there's no transfer of it for that purpose only. But maybe if we can come up with some ideas, strategies, maybe it's outreach. I don't know what it is, but I think we should talk about it at some point.
And you learned from the federal grant partners that we can use it for whatever we want to work with the tribes, whether that's a pass-through sub-grant, or whether that's maybe conferences or training or whatever. That's a possibility that you guys can discuss it.
Okay, and I think Director Reg, that's a great idea, and not to put any pressure on you, Megan, and not to put any pressure on if we add to this council. I think it's Misty, but maybe those two, especially having some so to speak connections with tribes, might be good for you guys to really be involved in that discussion and give us some ideas, because yeah, we've talked about that a lot, that sometimes it just doesn't get used. And so how can we be more helpful in getting that to get used? And Megan and Misty and anyone else, Tina, you have, well, and certainly George and Tina, do you have connections to the reservation or no?
I've just worked with all the tribes.
Yeah, so I mean, some of us have some more expertise or more relationships than others, and maybe that can be really part of that discussion of helping figure that out. Rachel, you too, you're up on the reservation there, so you know, maybe you guys have some ideas, because that is an issue. It needs to get
and by
spent.
September 30th, we will lose that $12,641, but then we have the other money.
Which again is not a lot and stuff, but it doesn't show, back to your point, Rachel, it doesn't do a good job of showing that we're being good stewards of it, and we need it, and there's a need for it, and it's being used.
We're not the only state that struggles with
Sure.
that money state. So that's why there are ways, for instance, if we're talking about this new summit, of being able to bring in and use that money to bring tribal in, bringing in speakers for that specific track, doing that stuff. We can spend it and in a useful way, and not only get them in for that piece, but then get into other areas that then they could utilize and take back. And not that that's the only way, but that's a very solid way to do it. And then really integrate the tribe into our youth justice system and help them make connections and help them do some of those pieces, because our best chance is getting everybody in the room, as we well know. So that's not the only way, but that is a solid way for us to go about
using that funding.
Yeah.
This year's funding is probably gonna go back.
And I would like to add that having formerly been the Title II person and working with the tribe, they get a lot of direct federal monies.
Correct.
That they don't have to jump through so many hoops that we make them jump through.
Right.
And so, like Jeremy says, we can find a way to use this money that's maybe more general or more helpful across the nations, and we can develop that as a usual thing. Then maybe they won't bypass the money, but they'll come to our conferences. They'll use it that way, because right now it's really not convenient for them to use grant money, because we have to make them jump through hoops and use programs that they don't like.
It's not that much money.
Yeah, and it's not compared to what the effort they put in. They think it's not, and that's what I was told.
Yeah.
By the lady I worked with. She goes, "This is too much effort for this little money."
Yeah.
I think we talked about that earlier. It just wasn't worth their time, but basically.
Yeah. There's a lot of training for young gals that were doing the bookkeeping, and it was confusing, and they only did it once a quarter, and so then they'd have to relearn, and they felt it was a hassle. So if we could provide useful information to them on this low budget somehow, that would be better than giving them the grants from their perspective at this point in time.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions for Cam? All right. Well, thank you guys very much. And thank you. This is the only guy here you have to look out for when you start coming. He has lots of questions. He's going easy today, so he doesn't scare you for later. But
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Anybody have any public comment? Hey, James, are you still on with us?
Indeed, I am.
James, would it be possible to go get your principal or have your counselor go get your principal and have her come into the chat real quick, or so we can say something to her, so I can say something to her? It's a her, right?
Yeah, I will go look for her. She might be at the elementary school, but yeah, I'll go look for her. I will be right back.
Don't go too far, but before you go, James, do you have any is there any other public comment for you or for anyone else out there? Is anyone else on? Pretty much just James.
Yep, just James.
James, do you have any public comment on anything we've discussed so far?
I was just wondering what activities this after school program would offer.
That's a great question. That's entirely up to the programs that submit an application. So it could be anywhere from, boys and girls groups after school, or say the YMCA maybe has a soccer program. I don't know if you have YMCA in your community, but it's really up to the people that apply for the grant. It could be, it could be anything that passes their criteria. The what?
Summer camp.
Yeah, summer camps would be a good one, but yeah, it could be just about anything, James. So it's something you might want to pass on to your counselor. What's that?
Like I said, swim lessons. It could be your 4-H. It could be. I mean, it's as broad as it can be. I guess it's after school.
Yeah.
Programming.
Yeah,
James,
pretty open, James.
Yeah, James, if you have if you're brainstorming something, feel free to just email whoever contact you have for us, and we'll get you information. Don't be shy about it.
Okay. Yeah. My next question was, I have a kid in my class who was really interested in a self-defense class for Big Sandy Public Schools, and I was wondering if maybe we could if our school does decide to apply for this after school program, be able to do self-defense classes during that time?
That's really, so what you guys.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to bring that forward, and again, I keep saying meet the criteria. What's the right word? If you fall within the purpose area, that could certainly be an activity that you could do. And we say after school, but again, it could be in the summer, it could be on the weekends. I suppose it could be before school. But yes, that could qualify, James.
There is an after-school self-defense program at your school. It's called wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's free.
James, any other comments, public comments?
No, that would be everything. I will go grab my principal.
Yeah, before you do that, James, I want to say thank you very much for being on. I'm very impressed with you, and please reach out to Kim, give us your situation, and if you can find your principal, jump back on. We're going to be off here in a minute, so see if you can find her. I would like to tell her that your time was well spent today.
Plus, we wanted her to hear.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we can also make sure she hears the do the right thing. So let me know if you find her here in a minute and get back on with us.
The counselor.
I will.
Or the counselor.
Yes.
Thank you, James. Okay,
folks,
other board.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I
Pardon?
gotta hop off real quick, so I've got a client coming in and I didn't have a chat and I didn't want to be rude, but I gotta run.
Thank you,
today.
Bree. See you
Yeah,
later. Thanks
thank
for
you
being
all.
here.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
James find out about.
I don't know. I want to ask him. I want to ask his principal. I don't know.
Got sent out to all the schools to do the right thing. So
No. How did we find out about this meeting?
because he called to ask about do the right thing.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Okay, other board business. Let's just hang on 1 second if we can. Can we jump to number 2, Jeremy?
Yes, so we have a conference coming up in Minneapolis, the 15th through the 18th. The only one that said that could work for them was you, Mike. Does this still work for you? Go on. And then the second conference, the annual conference, is May 27th to the 30th, and it's in DC. And I have 5 people that have said that they're interested in that.
And you took me out, right? Okay, yes. When will we get logistics?
When I get the logistics.
Okay.
So we're working on creating a form where we can, are you talking to Tammy and Fiscal? It may work best if we purchase the plane ticket and send you guys the confirmation. So we're creating a form, that way we can send it to you and then we'll make the arrangements for you.
Okay.
So we'll get that out maybe the beginning of next week.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the board, I want to say I won't be able to attend because I'm coaching baseball, which I'm very excited about getting back into. But thank you for providing that opportunity. I think that's great. And I'm glad that 6 of us get the opportunity to go with the support, financial support of the Department of Justice. And I think it's a great opportunity. So please take advantage of them in the future if you can. And I just think it's awesome.
I do too.
So are you going? Are you going?
No.
Is any staff going, or is it just the 5 and the 1?
Yeah, no, we're looking at our funding, and so we're looking at maybe possibly sending Jeremy to the May conference. But again, we only have so much admin money.
Can Jeremy use this money to go to this conference, these conferences?
The YJC council money? No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And there's no way of doing that. Since we have the money and we don't have as many people, that's part of the, not in the rules.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the rules.
Yeah, okay,
Because it has to be YJC members,
Right.
even though he is a member, he is a staff. And
right,
so his funding comes from the 10% admin from
Sure.
Title II,
sure.
which is a 50-50. So it still comes out of our general fund to fund half of his position and everything that he does.
Yeah.
And so,
And I don't even know if he'd want to go, but it'd be good for him to go with our other people,
absolutely.
just as leadership or whatever. But Okay, how about, so that's both conferences. Are you back on with us, James?
I am, and I have my principal here,
And your principal is?
Mrs. Woolery.
Mrs. Woolery, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. My name is Randy Shipman. I'm the superintendent at the Dillon Elementary School District. I'm the board chair. We have some school people and just an array of people, but I wanted to tell you on behalf of our board, thank you for sharing James with us. I know that's not easy to let them out of class, but I think it was time well worth it. And he was very engaged and active the whole time. And so I think it was great. In fact, we want to, and we need to check on some rules. But if you're willing to let him out once every 3 months, he might become a part of this board, but we need to check on some, if he wants to. And of course, with your blessing, because we do meet, on a school day.
Sure.
But he's gonna, Jeremy Shields, our juvenile justice specialist, is going to check into some of our rules on what constitutes a juvenile. We're not sure if it can go down to 13, but nonetheless, he's always welcome. He had great input, and thank you for letting him be on.
Yeah, you're so welcome. He's a great student, so we're happy he had that chance.
It sounds like he is. So yes, thank you. And thanks for making the time to come talk to us real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, James, you have a great rest of the day. Jeremy.
Wait. Part of the reason we came here is he wanted to do the right thing.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we wanted the principal.
And we want you to hear the do the right thing presentation real quick. All right, Jeremy, go.
So our Do the Right Thing project revolves around bullying, it revolves around violence, it revolves around difficulties in the household. And so it is an essay contest.
Okay.
And there's a really nice lesson plan that goes around it. And we have multiple schools throughout the state that we send it over. They write the essays. The essays are due to us by the 27th of this month. Then we then score them. And the neat thing about it is that whichever student in the state of Montana comes up and wins the essay contest actually gets to go to DC with their teacher and their parents.
Oh, very cool.
Huh?
So before the winner is selected to go to Washington, DC, there is a state celebration for the top 10 essays that happens in May. And so that's another opportunity for some of our students across the state to be showcased. Go ahead, Jimmy.
And then at that point, like I said, then the student ambassador goes to Washington. Their essay is put into a book that goes into the Library of Congress. They get the opportunity to be around 50 students from around the country. I know that the last time I went, we actually had dinner at the Kuwaiti ambassador's residence.
Wow.
Had the opportunity to go and tour Washington, DC. And then the one we had the year before last actually had an opportunity to read their essay to that group. So it's a really neat opportunity. It goes right into your English language curriculum. And we would love to have you do that, and your school will be part of that year in and year out.
Okay, great. Is there a website or?
I will get the information. It's been sent out to the schools 3 times now, and I will.
I feel like I've seen this in an email, so maybe I'll look back.
And that happens because because people change, and we only have the email addresses and stuff. So chances are maybe you were on the list that we got from OPI.
Okay. Yep. I'll look. Super.
But we would love to send that out to you because this is a great topic that really needs to be discussed and gives kids an opportunity to talk about hazing, get to talk about cyberbullying, get to talk about the things that happen in their house and in their households or their friends or what have you. And again, we'll turn around and if we could get your email address even sent over to Kim, because James actually has it, and then we can turn around and get that information out to you as soon as possible.
Okay, sounds great. That sounds great.
Thank you very much. James, how did you hear about Do the Right Thing?
So I was actually researching things to do as a child when it comes to politics, and it gave me like these things that I could be in as a minor into politics, and it brought up the YJAC and the Do the Right Thing program, and so I just kept researching that, and I thought I could go to one of their meetings and get information and then start working and turn it in by March 27th.
Perfect. Well, make sure that when you email Kim with the information, you remind her to send your principal the information on Do the Right Thing, and that'll get her and you sort of up to speed on on how that program works. And if it doesn't work this year with the timing, certainly you guys could implement it next year.
But James, get yours written and turned in.
That's right.
I will.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you both very much. Any other comments from anyone here?
I have one quick, but
Christy?
send us. So Marissa and I would really, have you gotten the Do the Right Thing stuff?
Not yet, no.
Please send it to us.
Look in your email. Because I know it got sent, because I've sent it a couple times. And you were on it too.
No.
Yeah, we'll send it again.
No.
I'll do
We
it.
have not.
Yeah, can you send it to everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also in the board report I'll send you guys, there's a video that you can click on, and it's a really nice video that's put on by the National Association. It's really informative.
Could you send it by this afternoon or?
Yeah, we'll get sent as soon as we get that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Because
I
we
just
got
have
a lot
meetings
of
tomorrow.
kids and teachers.
And we have the right email, right? Because you're getting the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn?
Nope.
Jeremy, anything else? Kayla, anything else? All right, then we're going to adjourn at 2:08 p.m. Thank you all so much for being here in person. Thank you guys for being online. Welcome aboard, Sam. David, thanks for sitting in with Judge Nicely, and we will see you guys, I'm sure before long.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
See you guys.